And it's got a BMW engine. This car, the leading car, comes with about 300 horsepower of V8, and the pace car, the safety car, the yellow one, 500 horsepower, the V10 from the M5. So quite something in the right hands. The grid scrolling past beneath you, you've already seen our two pole men. Carl Wendlinger dragged that Celine to pole position, and Jimmy Bruni just feathered that Ferrari around, didn't he?
Yes, there's a magic button on that AF Corsa Ferrari, isn't there?
Yes, every time somebody adds a weight penalty or makes the restrictor smaller, they plug in the laptop and tell it to go a second or that faster, and off it goes. But lots of unanswered questions, of course, at this stage in the proceedings, and we will never know what is going to happen until this race is over. And even then, will we see a form book for the year? Pointing at the screen there, Graham.
Well, only because on the scrolling grid we see some of the new names, new faces turning up in the championship, and good to welcome Nismo.
Indeed, we've got our 2010 spec GT1 cars beginning to appear. We've got GT4s, a pair of them, that should have been one of them, and we also have a GTR brought here by Nismo, run by Gigawave. Nigel Stepney calling the shots on the pit wall. They'll run several races this year, 3 or 4, not a whole season, and they won't score points. It's a development exercise. There it is, and no one knows what that car is capable of. You might know a bit, mightn't you?
Well, I hope to find out next month. I'm lucky enough to get a chance to test this car in the Algarve, so we'll see what it's like then. But I think this first race is key to see the car make it to the end, and it's a good development stage for Gigawave and Nismo. Yeah, and for the World Championship project for 2010, when this series will start travelling the world instead of Europe. We're travelling on the formation lap now behind the pace car, and Carl Wendlinger swapping in with Andrea Bertolini alongside him. It's a long, slow lap, of course, behind the pace car, and we're scheduled to start racing here in 4.5 minutes from now. So many questions, Graham, no answers. Will we have answers within the next 10 minutes or within the next 2 hours, do you think?
Well, if everything goes horribly wrong, there will be people in the kitty litter at the Copse corner within the first lap. We hope that doesn't happen. Everybody should be reasonably well behaved. It's a long straight which enables people to get some speed up, and there will be those who will be getting the red mist coming down and eager to overtake as soon as they possibly can. But prevention of a serious accident is important, because it's a 2-hour race and you can't win it at the first corner, you can only lose it there.
Well, it's a little bit grayer and more overcast than it has been all weekend, but I don't think the temperature's gone down at all. It's still a very clammy afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah, you might find the track temperatures down a bit without the sun beating down on it as it has been over the weekend. And how often do we say that when we come to Silverstone?
Last year was horrible, cold and foggy, and we just got a glimpse. There's the Ford GT just running ahead of the GTR on track. There is another Ford GT, a black one, which is even more brutal looking. But we're in the cockpit with Carl Wendlinger yesterday. That steering wheel a lot better behaved today than it was yesterday, because he was hacksawing this car around the place.
Yes, the Matic 4GT, the 44 that you mentioned, being penalised 10 spots on the grid from its starting place and by right because of having to have an engine changed.
As it stopped on track and dropped a bit of oil as well. But Matic, I've seen all this before, came to us through GT3 racing, and were right there in contention for the title last year, only pipped at the final round in Dubai. The Wiesmann GT leading car will pull off into the pit lane at the final corner on this lap, and as the pack comes round that final corner onto the start-finish straight under the control of Carl Wendlinger in the number 14 Celine, on the left-hand side there with Andrea Bertolini beside him in the number 1 Maserati. Wendlinger assumes the role of pace car and will keep the pace steady until the signal to start the race is given. There goes the pace car. We are seconds away from seeing a green flag to start the race. We're in the number 2 car. It was Alex Muller who put this on row 2 of the grid, but there is the green light, and the 2009 FIA GT Championship is Go Wendlinger heading towards turn 1 in the lead. He had a challenge and fought it off, and the Maserati stream into turn 1 in grid order. That's a good start from Carl Wendlinger.
Yeah, a couple of vets getting racy side by side, as well as again the 2 Maseratis take up line astern behind, 1 ahead of 2. And it's Mike Hazeman's tucked in behind them, and then it's the Luc Alphonse, Guillaume Moreau, current LMS champion, looking to make a move on the Mike Hazeman, so they run through Chapel and down the hanger straight for the first time towards Stowe.
I'm not sure in that first corner if Wendlinger didn't get a tap from one of the Maseratis chasing him. Might just have a look at that bodywork when we come by the next time. There he is.
Side-by-side Corvettes through the corner, as you say, Graham. And as I said at the beginning, my heart's with the yellow one. I really would like to see Hazeman and Kumpen do something. It was a very, very popular win in Argentina at the end of the last year for Kumpen and Longines in the Celine. And this would be a popular championship leader through the year if such a thing were to take place. But Carl Wendlinger, in the meantime, me saying he can't drive it like that for an hour and a half, he's planning to drive it like that for the first few laps, isn't
Absolutely. He's going to try and establish a bit of a gap if he can over those behind him. There's the 2010 battle between the Nismo GTR and the Ford. We're on board with our GT2 leader up through Bridge. Really challenging corner, that one, Ben.
Yeah, Bridge is fantastic in these GT cars. It's normally barely flat on a qualifying run, and sort of being sensible on tyres and so on, tend to just take the edge off it in the race to set yourself up for Priory Corner. But it's one of the quickest corners on the track, and you really see the cars working through there.
And the number 2 Maserati at the moment with Alex Muller. Here's Wendlinger, Bertolini, Muller. It's Hazeman in the yellow Corvette. Guillaume Moreau in 19 behind him. Then it's Adam Latchko, Bert Longines, Jos Menton, Luke Hines, and then Michael Krum in the Nismo GTR. And that is the other GT that we were talking about, the black and brutal looking Ford GT.
Tim Mullins made his way past Martin Raginger in the GT2 category to take second spot there.
But as the form book suggests, year after year, it seems to be AF Corsa very much in control of GT2. Cruise to pole position. Jimmy Bruni, starting at the head of the GT2 field, is still there, and he's got half a second over Tim Mullen as the Maseratis continue to chase after Carl Wendlinger.
But Carl Wendlinger's making great time already, a second and a half almost up on lap 1, and pulling out another half second in the first sector of this lap as well, so looking to make good his escape before he hands over to Ryan Sharp for the middle stint.
If he can make an escape, he can, because we suspect that these 2 Maseratis, and there's the number 1 car in your picture now, watch them at the start, and we'll see if Wendlinger indeed got a little bit of a tap there, as you said, Ben.
Very, very close. I'm not sure if they touched, but it was a very, very close shave for that Maserati. At the moment, it looks like the car, the Maserati in P2 is actually holding up P3, if anything.
Just have another look at it there and see if there is a touch, but I'm not sure. If Wendlinger can make an escape, the fact that the Celine uses its tyres a bit harder than the Maseratis, he might be able to buy enough time for a tyre change as well at the pit stop, because that's what he's effectively got to do. Expect them, certainly last year, on their development tyres, on their contract tyres, they would have perhaps only changed tyres once. On the control tyre this year, they might have to change at both pit stops.
It's such a gamble, isn't it? Because you're going to lose time on each lap if you don't change your tyres, but it's going to cost you a lot of standstill time in the pits if you do, and you've got to somehow work out which is the better trade. On board in the Nismo,
very briefly with Michael Krum.
He's hanging on pretty well though, actually. The lap times so far in the race is only a 3-second spread there from sort of where the Nissan is up to the leaders, so it's certainly closer than it was in qualifying, and he's looking pretty comfortable.
The intention is that the new breed of GT1 cars, which we're seeing 2 of there on screen, the Nismo GTR and the Ford GT behind, should be somewhere in performance between the current breed of GT1 and the current breed of GT2, and that's exactly where they've fallen all weekend, isn't it, Richie?
That's how they finished up in qualifying. The fact the qualifying order for them was pretty much as per script. 2 hours of racing, we don't know what to expect. I'm not sure that they do. Matic, of course, have got plenty of experience with Ford GTs, but GT1 is a different thing to GT3. It's a whole different ballgame.
It is a very different beast, and I think you're going to see significant changes to these cars as they develop over the course of the year. The advantage being that they're going to be able to have a well-proven car by the end of the season, ready for the proposed World Championship next year.
Well, Tim Mullen getting very racy and among the tail end of them, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He's looking on quite close terms really with Bruni. He's just what 4/10 there in their lap times, so it looks like he's up for it. He's got a fight he can take to Bruni and see if he can go for the win.
Richard Westbrook and Andrew Kirkcaldy there. At least it's Rob Bell who started the 60 car, although Andrew Kirkcaldy did the qualifying duties. Richard Westbrook it is who's in the Porsche there, run by Rudy Pender's Pro Speed operation from Belgium. And another two cars there, both impeded by this 50 kilo handicap. It'll be interesting to see how they cope with that over a race distance.
Bruni moving up through the tail end of the 2010 GT1 field anyway.
And slicing up through the field as we should expect perhaps is Ferdinando Monfardini in the number 13 Celine. This the sister car to the Luke Hines number 11 Full Speed Racing run by Graham Nash. Are back in the championship this year, but 13 had an engine change and so had to miss qualifying and therefore start from pit lane. That they're already making the way up it through the field and in 14th place last time through.
Well, the number 40, which is I think Baz Linders, is it?
Yeah, Baz Linders starting the car.
Stop-go penalty for 10 seconds. I don't know what he's done wrong, but already in trouble with the stewards.
I wonder if he overtook somebody before the green light. All I can think of. But yes, Baz Linders and Renaud Coupens forsaking the Gillet Vertigo that they've campaigned tirelessly for a number of years, and moving up into the GT1 2010 spec Ford GT.
Do you know, I could have sworn you were going to say fruitlessly then.
Not I. They had a success or two in their time with it. It was hard work for them always.
Except when it rained, didn't they?
Yes, it came into its own, didn't it? Yeah.
On board again.
Quirky though it was, it added a bit of variety to the GT2 ranks. Well, often running in G2 actually.
Where is our Aston Martin, by the way? I was going to say that this GT2 field is normally the Ferrari Porsche traditional battle. It was much livened up by the appearance of a GT2 Aston Martin during qualifying, but you may have noticed it vanished again just as quickly, and for a good reason.
Well, yes, they had to start from the back of the grid. Unfortunately, they failed the ride height test at the end of the qualifying session, so their penalty for that was to start at the back of the grid, but making their way through against Stefan Mucker, factory Aston Martin driver, already up to 20th place, and now taking on the AF Corsa second string Ferrari of Alvaro Barber Lopez.
Yes, this second car, the number 51, very much an unknown quantity. There it is, and there is the Aston Martin behind it. We don't know what to make of those two drivers until we really see them through a race distance. Nobody else knows, but at the moment they're not on the same pace that car would have been last year.
It's interesting watching these Ferraris go as well. Tim Mullen's in quite a nice little spot, just using a draft at the back straight to catch up to Bruni. They're not far apart. They're not. Mullen's last lap was 6/10 quicker than Bruni's, so he'll be very keen to get stuck right into him.
Yeah, Tim Mullen's car 50 kilos lighter, but running an older spec engine. They're on the Series 3 engine in that car, whereas the development cars are now up to a Series 5. So that is promised for Chris Niarchos and Tim Mullen, I believe, for Adria.
And was that Tim Sugden making up a little bit of position there at the expense of the Argentinian 95 Picon Racing, which, let me just look on the screen too and have a look. Yes, it was, wasn't it? He's passed Matthias Russo, is what he's done.
Yeah, he's also passed Matteo Manicelli, who he qualified behind.
So he's on a bit of a move right at the tail end of the field. Let's go back to the front, because the Maseratis seem to be dropping the Corvettes now. Wendlinger has got 4.5 seconds over Andrea Bertolini, who's just a second away from Alex Muller. Well done, Alex Muller, living up to expectation, absolutely. And Mike Hazeman a further 2.5 seconds behind that, and you can see for yourself that he is losing touch, but he's got Moreau and that's Adam Lachko right behind him.
Yeah, Adam Lachko driving the second of the K+K Motorsport Celines.
big step for this team coming up from Czech GT racing to the FIA GTs. I mean, it must be a complete culture shock.
Yeah, we saw them briefly last season, didn't we? Just showing in our ranks, but good to see them in for a full season and with 2 strong pairings.
19 now, Moreau in 5th place, and the Maseratis running on their own. They're running to a plan, though, again, aren't they? You know they are, and you know that this is all been organised. They know exactly what to expect. They know exactly where they're going to be at every pit stop. And providing nothing goes wrong, they'll just tick along to the end of the race, and then somehow, by that little prestidigitation thing they do, they'll just appear in the lead.
How often did we see that happen in the pit stop rounds last season and the season before, in fact?
It's a little bit of a wobble there, isn't it? It can't be all curb. What's happening to that car? That looked all unnecessary and bumpy in there.
It looks like when Muller, to me, looks like he's sort of following dutifully behind Bertolini and just, like you say, following his order, because he's holding in a very precise gap behind his teammate. Probably been told not to pass once he's in a position to hold it, but if anything, it's a shame, because perhaps if he was in front, he might be taking the fight a bit more to Bertolini.
Well, they did have sort of no-holds-barred racing between the Maseratis at times last year. That I think Michael Bartels will be very, very keen to end his time with the Maserati with yet another championship, and perhaps he will have issued that order at the start of the year saying this is how it's going to be. We'll do the job like this year.
Yeah, towing up onto the back of those 2 Corvettes, though. We talked about Adam Lachko, and the young Czech driver is looking at the back of the Luc Alphonse Corvette. Guillaume Moreau at the wheel.
That's French for William, by the way.
Bill to his mates.
Bill Moreau. And Mike Hazeman in the number 4 car. He and Anthony Kumper pretty evenly matched, so whatever this car's doing now, you can pretty much expect it to do as well when it's handed over to Anthony Kumper.
Anthony's sporting a much more modest hairstyle this year than in the past.
I was just about to say to there's a female audience for sports car racing. As a matter of interest, Anthony Kumpen was in the running for sexiest sportsman of the year in Belgium this year, but Mike Hazeman wasn't.
In spite of not owning a bicycle.
Yes.
Although actually he does own a bicycle because he pedals around the tracks frantically, keeping fit.
But enough frivolity.
Richard Westbrook not feeling a little bit frivolous in his pursuit still of Robert Bell.
Getting quite close there. Mullen coming under some pressure as well from the Porsche behind him, so it's going to be an interesting dice there for people that want to finish on second on the podium or get on the podium. It's very close, with the exception of Bruni, who's just trying to edge away.
Yeah, Martin Ragginger driving for Brixia in GT2. They've made the move up this season, still running a GT3 of course, but GT2 as well now with the white Porsche, partnered with Luigi Lucchini. But Martin Ragginger has done a lot of Carrera Cup racing and Super Cup racing as a sort of quasi-factory driver. We're on board with Stefan Mucker.
That Aston Martin is starting to come through the field, and I'm not sure what other infringements it might have had. I know, as you said, ride height was the main thing, but there are a couple of things.
A couple of components oversized was all that was written on the steward sheet.
As we suspected, it might have been a rear wing roughly the size of a barn door. In fact, if they haven't borrowed that from Reiter Engineering, I'll be amazed.
This is Baz Linders, the car having served now its stop-go penalty, is dropping down the order. And as we speak, is about to drop off page 1. There it goes at the expense of Tim Sutton, in fact, who makes a welcome appearance on page 1.
Looking down that leaderboard, it's all 1 second and point something gaps down to about 10th place. Luke Hines has got a big gap, but Carl Wendlinger 5.6 seconds over Andrea Bertolini. He's eased away, and then his progress has pretty much come to a halt now, isn't it?
Yeah, 9 cars in the 1 minute 50-second bracket during qualifying, so no intense competition whatever in GT2. Here's that little trio, a pair of Corvettes and the Celine, all squabbling over 4th place. And Lachko looking the raciest of the 3 at the moment. Tucked right up now behind Guillaume Moreau, looking for a run down the start-finish straight again as they exit Copse.
As we say, and that was it, wasn't it?
Woodcote. Yep. Into Copse now. Woodcote, of course, at the beginning, straight Copse at the end.
We say, sorry Ben, we just say so often up here that catching someone's the easy part, passing them is really difficult. And it's hard to see how wide a Corvette can be when you come up behind it like that, but they do fill the track, don't they?
Absolutely, and he started to use all of it to keep the car behind him. But the fact he's got him looking in his mirrors already. He's got a nice little gap here, so he's not losing too much aero to tow down this back straight, and this straight goes on forever. You see him flashing his lights at the car in front, trying to get him to get a move on, but he's going to have to defend quite heavily in a few laps.
Getting quite long in the tooth now, these Corvettes, aren't they? But I for one should be sorry to see this old generation of GT1s going. I know they're a bit dinosaurish now, but they are just monster machines.
But then, so are we.
Well, yes, absolutely.
Yes, as we said in qualifying yesterday when we saw the cars out on track, I mean, these are our iconic GT1 cars. They're the era we grew up with, but the GTR, of course, is the icon for a whole new generation, and they don't all have PlayStations.
It's been fabulous seeing that next year. I think the development program they're running on the GTR this season is very sensible, very methodical approach, and with the races they've got and the testing time before they go really full bore in 2010 and start bringing out more cars into the series as well.
They worked well last year. We saw that Aston Martin make an appearance at the end of the year, and now here it is in GT2, and quite demonstrably it's on the pace. They might have a couple of regulatory things to sort out, but it is definitely going to be on the pace in GT2.
And George Howard Chapel pacing the paddock at lunchtime, just keeping an eye on things, as he always does when Aston Martins are racing anywhere within his reach.
It's an odd thing for us to be looking at Mike Haseman being hounded by Moreau here, and that is what's happening. As you say, Mike Haseman in the yellow car is beginning to hold up Keon Moreau, who wants to get away from Latchko and can't. Carl Wendlinger has got away from Andrea Bertolini, isn't he?
Almost the length of the hangar straight now, which, as Ben says, goes on pretty much forever. But he has pulled well clear now, almost 7 seconds at the beginning of this lap. Here they are fanning out in preparation for the braking point into Stowe, but having to tuck back in again. There's no way he's going to get through that sort of gap under braking for Stowe.
He obviously thinks he could go a bit faster if Haseman got out of the way.
Yeah, he's going to try and get past him using his lights, but he really ought to concentrate, get past him on the track. But obviously he's trying to distract him, force a mistake of some sort that he can make advantage of. But the third car in that little battle, of course, waiting for those two just to collect one another, and he'll sail through. But something will happen there in a couple of laps. It'd be interesting to see how it all pans out.
How much of a distraction is it? I know, because the rear view in those cars isn't very great, is it?
I'd say the guy weaving around really is causing himself probably more distraction than the one in front at this stage. So if anything, he may end up being the loser. But he's in a very uncomfortable position, stuck between two cars there.
Yes, he doesn't want to be snapped up by Latchko and the Celine.
No, I remember seeing Adam Latchko at the beginning of last season when GTO Go to One Racing turned up with the Moslers. Oh dear, just a little bit of a loop going on there.
Kenneth Hayer, will it?
Yes, it was Kenneth to start the car. He did the qualifying in the second BMS Scuderia Italia car, moving up again from GT3. Son of Hans Hayer, of course.
Yes. How much of a leap is it, Ben, from GT3 to this class?
It's really, when you watch these cars, they all look quite, they all look very sort of sporty, sexy supercars, and from the outside, it's just not much difference. It looks like one grid of GTs, but inside they are, and to drive, they're completely different, worlds apart. The GT1 cars are so much more aerodynamic than the GT3s. They handle completely different. They're more like sort of miniature prototypes. They've got fantastic brakes, they brake incredibly late in them. And whereas the GT3 much more in common with a road car as they look, but GT1 really is more like a prototype, but completely different to anything you would experience on the road.
So Kenneth Hayer has a good excuse for the lateral pirouette then?
Maybe.
Generous to a fault. Richard Westbrook still caught up behind Rob Bell in the CRS racing as they are this year, no longer CR Scuderia. CRS racing entering 2 cars in this category as in GT3 this year, but Tim Mullen it is ahead of Rob Bell at the moment, and between them Martin Ragginger in the Brixia Porsche.
Well, there's a 20-second gap between your GT2 leader and your GT1 tail ender, and there's 7 seconds now between Carl Wendlinger in first place and Andrea Bertolini in second place, with Alex Muller still keeping station 1.1 seconds behind him. And he's running pretty much, as you said, Ben. He's kept that 1 second gap since the race began, almost as if he's doing it to orders.
Yeah, definitely. You just get the impression from the body language of his car, where he's positioning
It's
it.
brilliant to be back. I mean, it's fun, you know, being back at Silverstone, and like usual, the weather's looking a little peculiar, but it's great to be back. I think we've all been waiting the whole week.
Little touch of Krasniarkos in the background there, but on
Unmistakably.
board. Here's Baz Linders making up places again after his stop-go penalty, and finding his way. That'll be past Rob Bell.
He was in 19th place, but I think he's moved up a bit since he crossed the line last, hasn't
Up to 16th now. Next target to acquire will be Martin Ragginger, and again Richard Westbrook looking up the inside. Has he got? I think he's got through there. Yes, Rob Bell having no option but to give way.
No warning, did he? I don't think.
No, I think that was a very smart move, and perhaps Richard Westbrook just mugged and Rob Bell into the corner there.
Great pass. It was absolutely perfect. I think to the last minute, Bell didn't realise he was really going to go for it. He saw him go back, take his regular racing line, and Westbrook did him up the inside. Fantastic. And without locking a wheel, he'll be clear and looking to make up ground on the cars in front. It looks like he's got the pace as well to keep going.
And on the back of that move, Alvaro Barber Lopez has pulled right up onto the rear bumper of the CRS car as well, and Rob Bell coming under pressure from that car too.
Well, now we might see a bit of pace from the second of the AF Corsa cars, or some kind of indication of what we can expect from that pairing this year, but Westbrook already easing away. And I think this is Linders continuing to make his way through the field after that stop-go for an unknown, I don't know what he did wrong really, whatever that transgression might have been.
Stefan Mucker still looking to make up places. He's scant half second behind Alvaro Barber Lopez now, and looking to improve his place. Down the inside again goes Baz Linders to take Tim Mullen. That's for position on the road, but not in class, of course.
And that Porsche with Westbrook is actually looking very fast, so I think that will be catching that little battle with Tim Mullen and Ragginger pretty quickly. If he gets past the other Porsche, I think he's also got a good chance to get past that Ferrari as well.
Yes, he was a lot slower on his last lap than the car ahead of him because he was mired, and now he's free. He might be able to shave a couple of seconds off his lap time.
Tim Mullen's last lap quicker than that of Jimmy Bruni, which is impressive. Tim's a very rapid peddler.
Yeah, it's still Bruni who leads the GT2 field though, and Tim Mullen just 1.9 seconds behind. 12 laps down, 8.9 seconds the gap between Carl Wendlinger and Andrea Bertolini. We're getting right up close and personal with the number 55 car of Tim Mullen, and he's in second place behind Jimmy Bruni in GT2 by just 1.9 seconds.
There's the Brixia Porsche, first real view of that we've seen.
We heard a brief bit of Krasniarkos earlier on, but here's the real thing.
Chris, Tim seems certainly to have gotten off to a good start. Is it good to be back?
It's brilliant to be back. I mean, it's fun, you know, being back at Silverstone, and like usual, the weather's looking a little peculiar, but it's great to be back. I think we've all been waiting the whole winter season, like everybody, to really get a crack on. Tim and Rob are both doing very well, so I really hope this season we can really sort of buckle down and, you know, get all the kind of teething problems from last year behind us, but so far we're okay.
So are you happy with the car so far this weekend?
Yeah, really happy. I mean, I think we were a bit, you know, we were struggling a bit. These new tires are slightly different than the factory tires we were running on last year, but, you know, these guys are so good. You know, we eventually, I think, are now finding our way. And, like everything, I think now that everybody's got the same issues, in a way it's sort of easier to chase it down. You're not as psychologically going, what's wrong, because you know everybody else has got the same issues.
Great. Wish you luck, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, let's hope. I mean, it should be a good year. I'll tell you in an hour and a half.
Great.
See you. Thanks.
I asked Chris exactly the same question I asked you just now, Ben. What's the difference between GT3 and GT2? He didn't hesitate, he said 200 grand.
He would know as well. Chris has obviously spent a lot of time establishing his team and done a great job. And it's great to see that they're always a front-running outfit, and largely down to his management too. But yeah, it's not cheap going racing, that's for sure.
Still this battle goes on, but for 4th, 5th, 6th places, with Mike Haseman still able to hold off Guillaume Moreau, but increasingly the gap between the three of them has shrunk, and it's Adam Lachko who's turning in the fastest laps of the three.
But he still can't do anything about this blockage of Corvettes. They just stuck there, as you say, Graham. At Wendlinger has got 9.5 seconds in hand over Andrea Bertolini at the head of the field. He has pulled out a little bit of time on every lap, just about, and he's lapping quicker than Andrea Bertolini as well. He said that he thought the car was consistent and that it could go consistently fast. And I didn't believe him. I'm going to say I watched that on board and I didn't believe him, but he's doing it.
Thomas Much is making up a good time too in the number 44 car. This is the Matek version of the Ford GT1 2010 style, up to 12th place now.
These are the stealth fighters of this championship, as we said, so slick in the pit stops. When everybody else has gone to the hospitality or the hotel and they're having a watch behind the ears before they go out, these boys are in the pit lane, banging out the practice pit stops, up on the jacks, out of the door, back off the jacks, time after time after time. They drill and they get it right.
Alex Muller, a good driver signing for the team this season too, having taken over from Sandy Negrau.
Yes, Alex Muller we saw with Jet Alliance last year in the Aston Martin, partnered Lucas Lickner-Hoyer, and I think his speed gave that pairing better results than it deserved, really. All credit to Lucas Lickner-Hoyer, he was paying the bills, he was entitled to his drive, wasn't he? But Muller, I think, would have been much quicker with another driver.
Yes, they ended up with a 1-2, didn't they, at one point in the season, that being Lickner-Hoyer's best racing result. And now we've got the position where Carl Wendlinger is coming up against backmarker traffic, one of those disciplines of multi-class racing with which you have to become familiar.
It's all a lot more civilised in here today, though. Look at that, that's nothing like what was going on in here yesterday.
Yeah, he is really feathering it, and obviously he's approaching some backmarkers. He'll be keen to find them in the right spot. But he's just stroking the car along and looking after the tyres, so if that's the pace he can do and drive the car that way, he's looking very strong.
We should see is GT1 Power just go blasting past the Ferrari, the GT2 car in front of them, moving aside and letting Carl Wendlinger know he can go through. And that's the difference between GT1 and GT2.
It's almost unfair to call them backmarkers, isn't it? Because they're not stragglers by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that they don't have the same horsepower and road holding available to them.
So Carl Wendlinger through traffic, what will that do to his lap time? The gap to Bertolini's already gone down from 9.5 to 8.5 seconds, so you can see straight away that traffic is holding up Carl Wendlinger.
Get that sort of constant, just being squeezed over on the outside there by the
and gesturing.
Yes, little encouragement to the track speed Porsche of Tim Sugden, no less, that he might have given a little more room.
Yeah, that didn't look quite right, really. He should have set up his way. There's no need to squeeze Wendlinger like that, race leader, and the GT2 should have just given way. But those are the nightmare moments, especially as you're leading the race, you're making these decisions, and you have to get on with it. You can't really hang around. It just gives the opposition a chance to catch up on you and then put you in a worse situation.
This is the first time in the race, though, that these people have been caught by a race leader, so from now on they'll all be looking out for it, won't they? But that's the first time it's happened.
Yes, true, but nevertheless they should get out of the way, and hopefully it will get easier, but it's always very risky for the lapping the back markers, and he's doing a great job, so it'll be down to the chasing Maseratis and see how they fare with it, because so far Wendlinger is looking pretty good. He's not lost too much time.
No, he's done very well, as you say, Ben, just catching them in more or less the right places. There are some that you can't avoid, but if you can avoid getting stuck behind them through this area, through the Luffield, sort of Priory Luffield complex, that's the place where you don't want to be held up.
That's it, and of course if the guy you're trying to get past double takes, you can almost be ground to a stop. So fortunately he's well clear, and he's got another gap to the next group, and he should get past them okay.
And now of course Bertolini's got the same problem ahead of him, but as you say, Richard, having already seen the Celine go through, the back markers, the slower cars will be more aware that somebody else is going to be coming up behind them shortly, and may give him a better run at it than Wendlinger had, and Wendlinger's last lap time a second and a half slower than Bertolini's.
And 5 seconds slower than his own best as well. So the gap now is down from 9 to 8 and now 7 seconds. Bertolini is catching him in the traffic, so that's pretty much what's happening, is everybody's getting out of the way of Andrea Bertolini, but they're not expecting this, are they? I think that was Richard Westbrook passing us on the being passed on the left, was it?
Yeah, Richard Westbrook there, and the next target of course will be third in class place in GT2, Martin Ragginger.
Vice versa with these GT2 cars, Westbrook will be seeing an opportunity and hoping that something happens to the car in front of him, and that his opposition will slow down, and that's exactly what he's seeing now. He's got his target in sight, and he'll be looking for a run down here in case his man in front has had a bit of a distraction. He can try and fox him at the chicane.
No problem on the straight. It's when you come up with them coming into the corners, when you're concentrating on the corner ahead and not thinking about what's coming up behind you. But the team on the radio saying GT1's approaching or not?
Really, I mean, they don't have time, and it happens so quickly on the track that usually you've just got to look in your mirrors and see what's happening. And for the GT2 boys, it's as important. There's a great move.
Richard Westbrook just sliding up the inside there, Ben.
And that's exactly it. You know, the guy, he's just got past there. Lost his rhythm by being passed by a GT1 car, so traffic is as much an opportunity as it is a hindrance, and it separates the experienced drivers from those who are quick but you know, as on the ball as people like Westbrook there, who's making some hay while it shines.
Yeah, and he's been around a long while in these cars, a Porsche factory driver for many a year, and paired again this season with Emmanuel Collard, which is a fantastic team. Not the Works factory team, of course, because we don't have those.
There isn't one. They are not the Porsche factory team. There's no Ferrari factory team either, and they of course want it.
Westbrook's times there looking great. I mean, his fastest time is within hundredths of Bruni, the race leader, GT2, and his last lap was well, half a second quicker. So he's got a gap there of a few seconds to catch up, but there's no reason in this kind of race that he won't make that up. And the Porsches are looking quicker than more consistent anyway at the moment than the Ferrari.
And Christian Arcos, who we saw being interviewed by Haley just now, would be first to admit that when they come to driver changes, he's probably not going to keep pace with Emmanuel Collard.
Very true indeed. Very true indeed. I'm just looking at the top to see that Carl Wendlinger has got another second back, so it went down to 7 and a bit. Now Andrea Bertolini's in the traffic. He's having trouble as well. His last lap was a 1:48, Wendlinger's a 1:47. So it's starting to work for Carl Wendlinger again. He's back up to 8.5 seconds. And Alex Muller's 2 seconds adrift of Bertolini in the traffic, so he's pretty much sticking to his plan as well.
Yeah, we saw Alex Muller just lapping Rob Bell, and Stefan Mucker was in close attendance behind the CRS Ferrari. Now Richard Westbrook towing up onto the back of Tim Mullen. Less than a second separated at the beginning of the lap. It'll be less than half a second at the end if indeed Richard can't slide past in the complex.
Porsche with Westbrook seems to be fantastic on the brakes, and he's obviously overtaking people in the braking areas, but on his lap time, and you watch where he's gaining on this car in front, you can see straight away he was braking later into Priory, so it also looks very balanced in the fast corners, but as a racing car, obviously overtaking, he seems very set up. I doubt he'll try this on, but he may just try and throw Mullin off his line.
He's got 50 kilos extra weight to try and stop at the end of that straight, and he's done it without a moment's hesitation, Ben.
Yeah, swallow my hat straight away on that one. He dove up the inside of Copse, and I doubt Tim knew it was coming till it happened.
And there are the Maserati pair coming up on this battle, both eager to get past. There, as promised, is the Aston Martin towing up onto the back of Rob Bell. That gap came down by a second almost in the last lap. And here's that, Guillaume Moreau finally making his way past Mike Hazelman's. Adam Latchko going to follow through. He had the line on the inside, but through Beckett's he's not going to be able to maintain it. So we've got a swap now there for 4th place. Guillaume Moreau takes the place away from Mike Hazelman's. Adam Latchko not able to capitalise on that at the same time. Nearly made it happen. He's now going to get separated by the second Pro Speed car there.
Oh, he's waited long enough, hasn't he? And he's on the lights already saying, let me through, let me through. I want to get away from those lot as fast as I can.
Yeah, biggest pardon, it's not the Pro Speed, it's Tim Mullen there, as it's Tim Sugden in the track speed car with the green trim. But the 3 GT1 contenders have just made their way past.
Carl Wendlinger's doing better now as well. 18 laps, 10.4 seconds his lead over Andrea Bertolini. So traffic slowed him initially, but now he's picked up the speed again.
Alvaro Barber Lopez making a good move out of the way there to let the 3 GT1 cars through. Of course, this is all new territory for him, coming out of the World Series by Renault. Pretty much a strictly single squeeze through there, thread the needle. What a fine corner.
How did he pull that one?
There's a pretty wild pass in traffic, and he's done really well to hang on and not hit either or both or all 3 of those cars.
It's a fantastic job.
Through though, and in front of Hazelman, and I must have jinxed him by putting 110p on him at the beginning of the race, because he's been going backwards for the last couple of laps, and I can't think of any reason why that would be so.
Good to watch this Moreau-Lacko battle as well. now they've got free air, see which one is quicker and what will come out on top there for sort of P4.
Yes, Guillaume Moreau at the moment has the better of it because he's not embroiled in that battle, of course. And Adam Lachko still has to get past the the CRS racing car in front of him.
So it's all happening in midfield. And this is Hazeman's opportunity. He goes round the outside, but Lachko's done it. I think he'll come out in front as they run down towards the braking zone. And it's status pretty much quo there, although it's changing there.
In spite of having two wheels on the grass as he exited Chapel onto the straight. This is a nice little battle between the GT2 cars of Martin Ragginger and Tim Mullen. And Lachko able to stay ahead of Hazeman's and start to pull a gap.
There's Westbrook chasing down the leader with Bruni there, so it's interesting that Porsches are all over the Ferraris.
It was a good track for Porsche last year, but especially in view of the conditions, it was really grim. But now looking nice and strong again here at Silverstone on a bank holiday Sunday afternoon that is a little bit grey, but still quite warm.
Guillaume Moreau for the moment splits the battle for third place in GT2, but he will make his way past Tim Mullen and therefore allow another attack on the back from Martin Ragginger onto Tim Mullen.
Wendlinger still leads it, and Bertolini is still in second place, but 13 seconds behind. All this parade into the pits. Let's have a look. We've been watching all this racing and forgetting the clock. 2 pit stops, 2 driver changes. They have to happen, and our scheduled pit stops are happening already.
Right, that's the 18 car and Lachko coming in to hand over to Mario Dominguez, the Mexican single-seat star.
Only recently arrived from Mexico about a week ago. He spent most of his time in the pit lane here on his own, obviously.
It's strange to see him on this side. Actually, I raced with Mario in Indy Lights and watched him go on to Champ Car, and so it's interesting seeing he's making the switch to sports car. And FIA GT, when it goes global, already is partly global, obviously, but it's becoming a much bigger fish in the motorsport world next year.
And we're bound to see that happening, aren't we? Drivers from far away thinking that's the one for me.
It's the place to be seen. Still racing on a good number of classic circuits, of course, as well, so lots of good reasons to be in that World Championship next season.
Alex Muller just tracking behind Bertolini there, and that's what's going to happen at the pit stop. What's going on there?
No, it's not. That's the 55 car. That's Tim Mullen's charge coming into the pits early to have what looks like a loose bonnet re-secured.
Didn't see whether we had a driver change there or not. You'd be ashamed to waste the opportunity, wouldn't it?
You'd have to get Chris in very early because he normally takes a short middle stint, doesn't he?
He has to do a set number of minutes in the car, but with 2 pit stops that's not really a problem. And yes, a short middle stint, especially because he's already been racing earlier today and again yesterday.
Yes. Busy man taking on his first pair of GT3 races. Klaus Hummel will normally be sitting in with Chris Goodwin in the second of the GT3 cars for CRS racing, but not available this weekend. Chris Narcos eager to leap into the seat and try it for size, and very well he did too. Andrea Bertolini, meanwhile, holding station with Alex Muller behind him by a second.
More pit stop time.
Yes, it's Martin Ragginger, the Brexia car, which was showing up well.
Just looking down the lap times of the cars that remain on track, and it does seem that Mike Hazeman, regrettably, is running a little bit slower than everybody around him and is going to continue to go backwards. And I wonder whether we'll see him making a pit stop any time now, because if there is a problem with car tyres or driving, you think they'd bring him in at the first sensible opportunity. And Alex Muller still in traffic with Andrea Bertolini, just a second or so apart. Back out on track goes the Brixia Racing with Luigi Lucchini at the wheel. We're in the cockpit with Andrea Bertolini in the number 1 Maserati. There it is on track. There's Alex Muller in the number 2 car. They are second and third, 13 and 14 seconds respectively down on Carl Wendlinger, who after 22 laps and nearly 40 minutes continues to lead this race. but that is Miguel Ramos waiting with his crash helmet on. Some drivers like to get kitted up early and some like to leave it to the last minute, yes?
Well, there's nothing worse than not being ready when the car comes in, and these cars tend to have a habit of not coming in necessarily on the exact lap you would think. So it pays to be ready early, and obviously the team be giving their drivers plenty of warning to get sorted for their stint. Make sure they got their drinks bottles, and lucky rabbits for whatever else they need.
Not so lucky for the rabbit, obviously. But we often see with the Maserati, we've seen Michael Bartels pacing up and down in pit lane with his crash helmet on, waiting for Andrea Bertolini, almost as if Bertolini goes, no, I'm enjoying this, I'm not coming in. But obviously they're working to a schedule, it's just that Bartels is an impatient person.
In comes Stefan Lucca in the Aston Martin, and he will hand over to another rapid peddler, Fred Makovici.
Yeah, Fred Makovici was one of the stars of GT3 last year in an Aston Martin. The young French driver has been very quick, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on now. He's stepped up to this, and he's racing against top-class cars and top-class drivers. Speaking of Richard Westbrook is getting closer to Jimmy Bruni.
Yeah, it's good to watch this, and Bruni responding. It's very close stuff, but his last lap was 1/10 of a second quicker than Westbrook. The gap's sort of steady at 1.5 seconds, and Bruni will be pushing every ounce of speed out of his Ferrari to hold Westbrook there, and we're very interested to see whether that gap gets smaller.
Last year, this story was all about Ferrari, and Porsche didn't really have an answer as the number 3 SRT Corvette that Bert Longchamp goes through the middle there. Porsche really didn't have a reply for Ferrari, and I wonder whether Silverstone is just one of those circuits that will flatter the Porsche, and we'll see the same story repeated later in the year, and it'll be all about the Ferrari runners.
Been a bit of development on the Porsche over the winter, so with a bit of luck and a fair wind, they will be closer. But Richard Westbrook is, as is the AF Corsa car ahead of him, still carrying around 50 kilos, in spite of which they are turning incredibly good lap times and very consistent ones.
Up front, Carl Wendlinger nearly 15 seconds to the good as he heads towards what must be his first pit stop window now. We're coming up to the hour. Brian Sharp's obviously going to do the middle stint, and it may be that they're going for a short final. We'll see. They've got the opportunity to call it however they choose, as long as they do 2 stops, 2 driver changes, and they do everything according to the timing of their minimum amount of seat time. And Bruni working quite hard in that car, isn't he?
Definitely. I mean, he just managed to hold another 2/10 over Westbrook there, so in this little battle, both of them will be driving super consistent laps. Wouldn't really expect to see any kind of rookie mistake from Bruni, so it will purely be down to who can thread the needle the best, and those tiny tenths and hundredths of a second all around the lap. If Westbrook can pull those together, keep reining him in.
I can remember Tim Sugden when he swapped from Porsche to Ferrari, saying how lovely the Ferrari was by comparison. It was almost like he wants to open the window, get his elbow out and turn the radio on, by comparison working the Porsche.
Yeah, the Porsche is a very unusual car to get used to, because the way the weight works over the back axle, and it's kind of like having a gorilla running around in the back, throwing the weight of the car in addition to what your normal inputs would be. Once you get used to them, you learn to brake extremely late, carry the speed like any other car, but certainly the Ferrari, much more traditional to drive, much more settled, very predictable. But for those guys that can really milk the Porsches, they obviously have the speed, and you see them get great results.
Saw Tony Vilander standing in pit lane, so does this herald the arrival in that pit lane of the number 50 car?
I'm sure it must do. We are at 1 minute and 16 on the countdown timer. And he stays out.
1 hour and 16, actually, a very quick race otherwise. We've seen Ferdinando Monfardini has come in to the pits in the number 13 car. This is the one that started from the pit lane, remember, because they didn't set a qualifying time at all, so they've done well. Come up here and hand over to Michel Orts.
Westbrook just getting close enough to Bruni now that we're getting these great in-car shots of Bruni driving the wheels off that Ferrari to stay in front, and see what happens to him later. Just some GT1 traffic getting between the GT2 battle there.
Seems to have bought Bruni a little bit of a breather, doesn't it?
Yep, he'll probably buy him a beer later and thank him, but it may not be enough because Westbrook's still on a run, and if it's 1 second now, then he may have lost half a second in that little section there. There may be more to go in his favour as the laps go by.
There's a car we haven't seen very much of or said much about, the Nismo GTR. Where are we? In 8th place with Michael Crum, and about 30 seconds behind the race leader.
And running in company with Thomas Much in the Ford GT1, at least in terms of places, if not in terms of actual. There they are actually together in the one shot down the Hangar Straight, about 5 seconds separating the two.
That's pretty much what the formbook says these cars should be about, isn't it?
Yeah, Michael Crum is hugely experienced in Nissans, not in this car of course, but in a similar one in the Super GT series over in Japan. Michael Crum has been a Nissan driver for many, many years.
A hugely successful car in Japan, the GTR,
yeah.
And a mega road car too, and it's just having to start from scratch really. The regulations over here are completely different to Japanese sporting regs,
yeah.
So in spite of the car's heritage, it's beginning from the ground up. And
same badge, but nothing much else.
Michael Crum looks very relaxing there though.
Quite brave doing a lot of your development work in public like this.
Yeah, I think the approach has been absolutely right, and Nismo are taking it very seriously, and they've camped out in England to oversee the development and work in concert with the team. And Nigel Stepney, hugely experienced as well, so it should all come together really well.
In comes Jimmy Bruni, and in goes Tony Vielander. Perhaps not quite as quick and as smooth as Bruni in the car. But I remember the first time we saw Tony Vielander. Oh dear, is that Tim Sugden? I think it might be.
Yes, it's got green all over it,
Yes,
isn't it?
it's got 59 written on the side, so...
That would be a clue. Let's see how this happens. Yes, we are. Oh dear. That's a very un-Tim Sugden thing to do.
It's a weird off, that one, and it looked like he was shown a way through, and then it's very strange to lose the back end of the car going into the beginning of Beckett's there, and I assume he would have lifted off to begin with, so to see that a few more times maybe.
He obviously not pleased with himself. That's driver body language for I'm going to walk back to the bottom of the circuit and catch a buster somewhere.
He's had a tyre off the rim that we're looking at.
I think it is
the side there.
Not towable, is it?
Did something let go at the rear, that rear corner.
Yeah,
he's locked it up though.
Solid.
That's why it's ripped a hole in it as he's locked the wheel and tagged the wall. But that obviously the car in front looked like it was going to let him by, and whatever happened, he had to change direction, and the back end's got away from at very high speed.
Yeah.
And that's the number 78 Ferrari in the pits, Kenneth Hayer, handing it over to Diego Romanini, I believe.
Yeah, he's another man coming in from single-seater background, done some World Touring cars as well, but a GT Open with an Aston. But there we are, we've got another move through there. Is that on Lappery or is that on path? Because
bear in mind
that
he is now the leader in GT2 because the 50 car's been in.
Yeah, but the 55 car came in for that stop, remember, where they were securing the bonnet, and whether or not they were doing a driver change we can find out by flicking down. And yes, it is Chris Niarchos now at the wheel of the 55, so Lappery rather than passing for place.
Richard Westbrook, then your GT2 leader, but he'll hand it over at the pit stop to Emmanuel Collard, and then we could expect fireworks. Emmanuel Collard airborne through most of the races at some point last year in that car. Absolutely flies quite literally, and provided us with spectacular entertainment at circuit after circuit. Richard Westbrook, of course, no mean driver himself, and into the pits comes our race leader Carl Fenlinger after 27 laps. Is handing over to Ryan Sharp, and he's not alone either, is he? That's Maserati
coming in. Lots of excitement and shouting in the K plus K kit.
They have rehearsed this as well. I mean, K plus K have been out in the pit lane most evenings doing this over and over and over again, but they're obviously not going to be as slick as Peterphone.
First job to do for Ryan Sharp, of course, is to move the seat forward about 1.5 foot.
Yes.
When you say they're going to be slick, expect them to fall out of the car. But, try not to curse them, but yeah, they are obviously the Vitaphone guys, like you say, very well drilled and extremely fast and rapid with the car mod and built in a way that they can get in and out of the car fast.
And they're changing the tyres on the Maserati as well. This might be the only time. We're not quite sure what to do or what they will do, whether these tyres will go a double stint as they always used to.
But bear in mind those tyres have also done qualifying. So with an hour and 10 to go, you kind of think they might be able to get through to the end on this set.
Whether the Celine will be able to do the same is another thing altogether somewhere. I think Ryan Sharp is already on circuit.
It's the 2010 battle.
Yes, next year's battle for GT1 Honours is going to look a lot like this, I think.
I'm looking forward to that. Hugely.
Icons for different generations, as we say. The Nismo GTR very much the car of the moment, and the Ford GT based on the Ford GT40, which was very much the iconic Le Mans car of the 1960s. And it's tucked right up underneath the rear wing. This is going to be an interesting. These two really are racing. Oh yes,
yes. There's something going on the Nissan, which is really sad to see. That the rear left looks like it's rubbing or is puncturing some way, but he'll be making a stop pretty soon, I would think. Hopefully.
Flat, isn't
Oh
it?
yes, that's away, isn't it? She's done well to hold that in such a straight line under braking.
So it's pit stop time for the number 35 Nismo car. That's bad luck, isn't it? Because it's nothing to do with the car, and just an unfortunate moment, just when we were looking to see that battle develop between the two of them.
Thomas Much has done really well because he started back in 22nd place with that 10-spot penalty for the engine change in the Ford GT, and had then at that point made it up till 9th, which has now become 8th with the temporary, at least, demise of the Nismo car.
Alex Muller's just got out of the third place Maserati. That means he's in pit lane now with Haley.
Alex, it's been your first stint with Vintavone. How's it gone for you?
Pretty good. We had a good start, both together. I had a slightly better start than Carl, but he closed the door in the first corner, so I had to brake. And the rest was just routine. We just drove our stint, and I think the race will start in the second hour.
I wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? It's pretty much what we were expecting to see from Vintavone, is that they come on strong in their second hour.
Michael Crum just nursing that Nismo GTR back into the pits as we see driver change for Matteo Malucelli to hand over to Paolo Roberti in the BNO Scuderia Italia car.
Their second pit stop.
Fourth in class as they came in.
So at the moment it is Andrea Bertolini leads this race, but of course he hasn't stopped yet. Neither has Guillaume Moreau, who is in second spot. Michael Crum's done that very nicely, hasn't he? To get that on the rim and everything, but he's lost an awful lot of time. But when he's not racing per se, he can afford, because this, remember, is development work. So they want the car back in one piece rather than in second place.
Yeah,
Absolutely, it's always the trick. I mean, you want to get back if you are racing flat out. The risk at you, if you push too hard, one of those punctures.
Oh, talking of which,
Number 2 Maserati of Miguel Ramos, and that's more than a puncture by the look of it, isn't it?
we suggest that might be finger trouble at the pit stop.
Yes, that wheel is off the axle, isn't it? And that might well be that it hasn't gone. There we are. We see the commentators' curse have done it again. We big up their slick teamwork. And they leave the wheel nut.
Kimasabi.
Here's how it happened. Let's just watch. It's on the other side of the car. The wheel's all over the place, isn't it? And then it's off. No sign of the wheel nut in that shot, and no sign of it on the wheel either. So I think, yes, the commentator's curse has sorted that one out, and it seems to have stopped on track. I can't see out the window where it is, but
I'm surprised he stopped, really. I mean, unless it's he could have kept that lip, perhaps it would have punctured and he could have got it back in, but he stopped out there somewhere.
it's a bit of car, but I don't think it's a bit of Maserati, is it? Unless it's just something from up inside the wheel arch.
That's one of those little flip paddles they're not supposed to run over at Brooklands, I think.
And there's the pit stop for the GTR with his tyre disaster. Darren Turner waiting patiently for the work to complete. They're obviously going to have a good look round, aren't they, before they send him back out?
Absolutely no rush, and the fact that it was scraping on the floor would have probably damaged a bit of the diffuser, so the Gigawave team will be looking carefully over the car along with Nismo and make sure it's safe to send Darren on his way for a good run.
That's on the exit of Club, isn't it? Running up towards
Yes,
Abbey.
it's not where you want to be, is it?
And a safety car is going to come out on the back of that.
To, hasn't it? I can see why you wouldn't want to get out and run across. You want to stay strapped in, and there is the
yellow Wiesmann,
the V10 500 horsepower Wiesmann, the really fun one. But Miguel Ramos has had his race, and that's the end of that. We'll line up behind the safety car. So, safety car time. What's going to happen now, Ben, for the teams like Bertolini who haven't stopped? Most people haven't. There's still a couple of cars out on track that have not made their pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they'll all be working out their strategies based on what they can do with the amount of time left, and whether they're going to make their pit stop sooner than later. But as for the rest of them, the ones that have done their bit, really just checking fuel and working out what they've got left in the tyres, etc.
There are not too many options because they've got to do 2 driver changes, haven't they? So really, there's, apart from saying we've got a free pit stop under the yellow, that's really all there is, because you can't adjust stints, can you?
No, and there's only really Bertolini and Much who could benefit from this. Thomas Much just bringing the Ford GT in, as indeed does Andrea Bertolini, straight away under the yellow. There is the GT2 car that's taken up a lot of our attention lately, with Richard Westbrook in the lead of the class as they came in ahead of Matthias Russo in the Picon car. And he will hand over now to Manuel Collard as Bertolini brings the Maserati to a halt, bang on the marks.
So he's won a bit of time, hasn't he?
Yep, something tells me this pit stop will be slower than the last one.
Yes, and they'll be paying special attention to all 4 wheel nuts.
Well, we're kind of guessing that's what happened, aren't we? But definitively we don't know. So it could have been a stop axle failure or something that's just tipped the wheel in like that. But
it's got loads of other bits holding it on, though, hasn't it?
It should have, yes.
And this is the bit that the Vispan team normally do so much better than anybody else. Of course, under yellow there's a little bit less of pressure, and they're all lining up behind this car now. The Vispan GT leading them round. It shouldn't take too long to get that Maserati on the flatbed and off the circuit, and then we'll be back racing almost straight away. Little GT2 parade there.
Yeah, the car that's being picked up is the CRS racing car of Andrew Piccoli. So there'll be a little shuffling to be done to get everything back in order.
It's all going to close up, and we get a restart, and all of Carl Vendinger's hard work in that number 14, Celine, of course, easing away, getting his 15-second lead to take into the first pit stop. It's all been undone by this, and that's got to be galling, hasn't it, when you've done all that work and then away goes the whole lot of it. When it's nothing to do with you. That's our race leader there. That's the number 19 Corvette.
Yeah, Xavier Marson now at the wheel. That one, that's the Luc Alphand Aventure car. Luc Alphand, of course, the former downhill skier from France.
Can you go up?
No, apparently not. Needs a lift. As do we to get up to our commentary box these days.
Indeed, yes. But Bartels has been into the pits under yellows. Ryan Sharp in the 14 car hadn't made his pit stop, which won't have helped either, so they've done a pit stop under race conditions, and now had their lead taken away from them by the yellow flags. And as soon as that the Maserati is clear, we'll be back racing. Thomas Biaggi has taken his seat in the number 44 car. We haven't mentioned Thomas at all this weekend, but he's racing in one of the Ford GTs, former GT1 champion, and this is the cause of our yellow, and it's on the other side at the back of the number 2 Maserati, or at least it is at the moment, but in a minute it's a wheel that won't be. And was that, I think that was the wheel nut just skating away there.
It's definitely come off, and whether he was told to stop or decided to, it seems a shame he couldn't get that car back to the pits, because they could have got that fixed most likely, repaired that bodywork damage and sent him.
Quite a long haul from down there, isn't it, to come all the way back with a good few corners. I know Michael Crumb's just done it, but his wheel was still attached to the rest of the car, wasn't it?
Yeah. So something was perhaps so jammed up in the wheel arch that it just locked solid.
Yes, he may well have heard all manner of unpleasant clanking noises there and thought, what on earth's going on here? I'd better stop before it all goes horribly wrong. So restart will be with us very shortly, and it'll be interesting to see how it pans out as the safety car waves them by until he picks up the car he's looking for. That might take a couple of laps to organise. We're following the safety car, and there it is around the Silverstone circuit, looking for the race leader to tow up to the back of him, and he's just coming now. It's the white number 19. The number 19 Corvette now driven by Xavier Masson, and we're looking backwards from the safety car on the pit lane, and that is now the proper race order, or the restart order, as you say, Graham. And we're going to do one more lap, obviously behind the safety car. One of the people who amused us during what the racing we have seen was Richard Westbrook. There he is with Haley.
Richard, you certainly got off to a great stint. That's up to Emmanuel to hold the position there for you.
Yeah, but I've just looked, we dropped down second. We probably pitted just a lap too early under the safety car, but it's a lesson learned there. Because we had a good advantage. It's a shame that we didn't, take advantage of that. And but the car's good over a stint. I mean, that's the first that a Porsche's good over a stint compared to the Ferrari, but it does seem that way, or our car certainly. We weren't good in qualifying, and we think we know why now, because it's not good over one lap, it's good over a race, and that's what you need.
And how does it feel to be at Silverstone competing this weekend?
Yeah, great. I love it here. I love the track. It's a good crowd here. Got a lot of family and friends here. It's really good, and I was so down yesterday after qualifying it. I needed a good stint, but we're only halfway through.
Great. Well,
cheers.
Enjoy. Thank you.
Nice one.
He is only halfway through. There is a long way to go. We've got 58 minutes on the clock counting down.
He's looking good, really. Collard there, P2, and when this gets underway, it looks like he's got the car to outrace the Ferrari, so I think he'll be even happier when he's standing on the top step of the podium, assuming Collard does the business.
He usually manages, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has a little knack of it, Manu, doesn't he? He's a very, very rapid driver indeed, whether in a GT car or a prototype.
So, and still we're doing the wayfind, looking for a restart order. I thought we'd achieved that.
As we're getting a flashback.
So, unless there's some that are allowed to pass the safety car and unlap themselves, are there not?
Well,
and
the timing screen is still showing Bartels as the leader. Bartels it is, who is now behind the safety car. So, is that the order that they want to re-establish?
Yes, because they'll reset to before the safety car was invoked, won't they, rather than what was actually happening at the time. So, in fact, this is as it was before the pit stop.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for, is positions on track before.
So the question is, how much will Michael Bartels and Vitaphone have benefited from these pit stops being taken as and when they were? Viz, how many cars are there between Michael Bartels and Ryan Sharp in that crocodile? Because Sharp will not be allowed to pass him until the circuit's green again.
And it's not going to go green yet because the lights are still on the roof of the Wiesmann safety car, which means we have to do another lap. So basically what's happened is that the number one Maserati's had a free pit stop under the yellows and retains its lead.
It's going to be great to watch Sharp when this gets kicked off again, because the best time that car has done is 1.5 seconds quicker than the Maserati. So we'll really see a proper fight, and he's obviously got the car to do the overtaking, the speed that is to get into the lead. So we'll have to watch it put the move on, and I'm sure that Maserati will suddenly get very wide.
Yeah, it's going to be a question of how long it takes Ryan Sharp to make up the gap between himself and the Maserati, which at the moment on the screen is an academic one. On the timing screens it's shown at 37 seconds, but by the time the pace car comes in, that will have shrunk considerably. It's how he deals with the traffic that's going to be between the two of them, and how much of the hay Michael Bartels can make in the sunshine of a free track ahead of him.
And there's a pretty free track behind him, or rather behind the Ford GT behind him.
Yeah, though that will close up as others come into place.
And that Ford GT, of course, driven by Michael Bartel's erstwhile teammate Thomas Biaggi.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
The view through the screen of the number 1 Maserati, and no sign of the safety car roof lights going off. We know the track is cleared, and we are just, I presume, waiting for the Crocodile, as you say, to sort itself out. The roof lights are off on the safety car. The roof lights have gone off, and that means we will start racing. This lap should bring us back to race conditions.
To see the first of the cars starting to come up behind now to join in on that queue, but Michael Bartels is going to have a good advantage as they come up under bridge. There is the rest of the field starting to show up, but it's mainly GT2 cars, all of which Ryan Sharp is going to have to negotiate before he can get down to his battle for the lead of the race with Michael Bartels in the Maserati.
Couldn't see, there were a couple of cars there blurring across the back of the screen, but I think, as you say, that Ryan Sharp is a long way down. I think that was him behind about 4 Ferraris.
With Ben being the tallest, is going to be seconded to stand up, look out of the window and do a head count of the number of cars between Bartels and Ryan Sharp as they take the green again. Coming through Woodcote, Michael Bartels across the start-finish line. We're back to green flag racing, and this is where Michael Bartels has really got to make it count.
This is the 5th year of the Tourist Trophy in the FIA GT Championship. Last year, Michael Bartels and Andrea Bertolini won it. It wasn't last year, was it? It was Carl Wendlinger and Ryan Sharp who won it last year, but he has previously won it. He's about to get his name on the trophy again, if I'm any judge, because that has just gifted him the second half of this race, hasn't it?
I think that's the bizarrest restart I've ever seen, and given a really unfair advantage to the people at the front. Why it took that long to sort the cars out, and they should have been bunched up much more than that. Effectively, what's happened is we've got 3 new races.
Yeah, here's Ryan Sharp. There are only 3 cars now between himself and Michael Bartels, so Ryan Sharp did well to get that far up that quickly, and he's making a great move now on the back of another Celine, of course, not one of his team cars, one of Graham Nash's full-speed racing cars. This one, Stefan Lemeret now at the wheel. Luke Hines having started the car out of the British GT Championship last year. Ryan Sharp needs to clear this Celine quickly in order to get on terms again with Bartels.
And he's doing it now, isn't he? He was only about 3 seconds behind Bartels going over the line, even though he had a few cars between him and Michael Bartels, and you can expect that gap to be slightly larger this time around, I can't help thinking.
In the first sector alone, Bartels pulled out over a second, and my guess is that he will pull out more again in sector 2, and what was a 3-second gap might be nearer 5 at the end of the lap.
So this is Emmanuel Collard going for the lead of GT2 against Tony Villander.
And also in shot, we saw the 95 car, the Picon racing car, Luis Perez Companc. The top 3 here in GT2, all nip and tuck, and Collard looking left, right and left again to try and find a way past, but Tony Villander having nothing of it, holding him through the series of corners there.
It's going to be great to watch this. Villander, he wants to win this race, and it's down to him now because Bruni's done his bit. He's going to have to be very, very brave on the brakes. He's got to make that Ferrari extremely wide because this Porsche is fantastic on the brakes, and Collard is no new boy to driving the hell out of it, so he'll be all over him until he gets past him.
And under the bridge, Collard tracking Tony Villander up the hill into the complex. He needs to be closer than this, really, and look at the way it closed up on him then.
Yep, into Priory, was much later on the brakes.
He's getting a lot of pressure up on these slow corners here, but just watching the poise of that Porsche, it's also looking really well balanced in the fast corners as well, so we can really keep the pressure on and watch this Ferrari under a lot of pressure to not make a mistake, really.
Yeah, Villander running a little wide there out of Woodcote, allowing again a better run up on the straight for the Porsche, but under braking can't make it stick.
Nice little run run here, which will be really disturbing when you're trying to go towards Beckett's flat out. He's having to take a slightly funny line, which won't really compromise him. He's got to collect it again back through this section. If he makes any mistake through here, he'll lose his exit speed onto the straight. So this last corner here, this right-hander, it's really key not to make a mistake and slide wide.
Yeah, Chapel Curve is the key to your straight line speed down the hangar, which we're now on.
Weaving around on the straights and not sure when or how or where Collard will attack. And defending into Stone normally means you get past the following corner into the chicane. So we'll see what happens here. He's got to run through the corner right on his tail. The Porsche has got, I think, enough braking power to dive up the inside.
Collard obviously thinks that he wants a better chance at it. Let's just have a look at the timing screen while we're watching this battle. Just remind ourselves that Michael Bartel still leads, but he's got a 4-second lead over Ryan Sharp, so that really did work in favour of Maserati and against the K plus K. Back in the cockpit with Collard now as he starts to size up his opportunity to get past Tony Villander.
Miguel Ramos has been summoned to the race director, if only I suspect, to explain why he stopped the car on the track and didn't pull it off to the side.
Right.
Just noticed Collard moving his mirror, just making sure what's behind him. And these cars, it's one of the funny things you have to deal with when you're driving them. When you clobber the curbs, it can knock the mirror askew, so you end up getting a reflection of your own feet. So he's just clocking it up to back to where it was and making sure that the car behind isn't too close.
Oh! More concerned with the car in front of him at the moment.
Absolutely.
It's trying to go through the Ferrari rather than round it.
Yeah, and there's that smoke coming out of the Ferrari now,
Yes,
so he's probably ended that guy's race.
Dislodged or moved a bit of bodywork onto the wheel arch onto the tyre.
There's a puff of smoke there for a while, but it seems to have gone away, so I think that is probably the case. But no, there's still smoke there, isn't there? Tony Villander's time is indeed, as you say, numbered. Collard has tapped him a bit too firmly from behind. That was looking like a friendly nudge, but now it's more of an unfriendly nudge, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all pretty unfriendly, really, especially in Luffield. And if you do that to someone that they've got the long drag down the straight, if the car gets sideways at the apex of Luffield, they will really struggle to get the power back on.
Yeah.
If Wielander's lucky that this smoke you can see may just be the bodywork catching now that he's been tagged, and again, if he's lucky, that bodywork may just burn off.
Yes, hope it doesn't just take too much of the tyre with it as it happens.
He's still looking good. I think Emmanuel Collard has gone down a notch or two, hasn't he, since that? Because he obviously thought he was getting a little bit too wild. It's unsettled both of them and given Vilander a bit of space to breathe in.
Given Luis Perez Companc a little encouragement to try and stay on the tail of this pair. Podium start to the season will be a good result for them, having won the last race of the 2008 season at San Luis.
Ferrari's going really well, actually. It seems to have come out of nowhere. In fact, he's watching these two bump and nudge one another. Collard sensibly has seen that Ferrari coming, and it's just given Vilander some space to let him get on with it, post some fast lap times, let them both pull away. I think this is probably his plan before he challenges for the lead again.
Two Argentines in that 95 car had a great result at Sebring this year as well, bringing home second place by borrowing Jimmy Bruni from AF Corsa to race with them, and so no fluke that they got that result at the end of last season, as they're showing here with the Formula in 2009.
Could be a bit of justice here for the prancing horse, with Collard looking at now more under pressure from third place than he really was a second ago. He was looking like he had a shot at taking the lead, and now he's hanging on to second if he can. In fact, looking at it, it looks more like he's done more damage to himself.
Yes, I was just going to say they've got more radiators and things at the front, haven't they, that make them a bit vulnerable at that end. But he was working a lot harder and looking a lot less tidy there, and I wonder if he nudged the front wheel.
They've done a bit of repositioning on the radiators on the 2009 spec car, but that number 60 Pro Speed is still a 2008 car, so no benefit of that yet for that team, as Ryan Sharp has closed up to almost within a second of Michael Bartel's, while we've been watching the GT2 battle. The GT1 battle has been progressing as well, and this is the result. Maserati coming under pressure from Ryan Sharp, and if Sharp and Wendlinger are to win this race, they will be the first FIA GT winners to repeat the feat of winning the RAC Tourist Trophy.
What was Bertolini shaking his head there, watching that on screen? You could see Andrea Bertolini didn't look as if he thought Michael Bartels would be able to keep Ryan Sharp behind him, did he?
It's Italian for I might finish second. But it's really close now. He's having a good look under the brakes there, and Sharp got plenty of time to pick Bartels off, and should be in no real rush, but he's got the quicker car, and the sooner he gets past him, the better at the same time.
Given that K+K are running this Celine for the first time, they've done a good job on it. Probably with a lot of help from Sharp and Wendler.
Really impressive. The guys are obviously driving the wheels off it, but it's consistently had fantastic pace through this race. So it won't be a real surprise when he gets past him, as long as he makes it tidy.
They took their race engineer from Jet Alliance with them, so that will keep that sort of the trio together is always a good thing, obviously.
Yeah, but of course stability within a team counts for a lot.
And let's have a look and see what's happened to Emmanuel Collard. He's still right behind Tony Vilander, and he's got a bit of time over Compact in the Ferrari behind, so I think he's maybe settled down now.
Yeah, Collard putting in his car's fastest lap last time round, as indeed has Mario Dominguez, the Mexican driver in the K+K car.
There's a little bit of damage on the front end of the 14, and you thought there was a touch, didn't you, before, but I think that was in traffic, must have been.
I think I can see a pass coming up here, and wow, it's got fantastic straight line speed. That's and 14 Sharp. He hasn't done him on the outside going into Stowe, which is a great move, very clean. But that took some brave driving, good stuff.
Yeah, now it'll be interesting to see how far he can pull away, because there is another round of pit stops to come.
With Michael Bartels now in the cockpit of the Maserati.
That looks like he's got a problem. It's going so much slower that it looks like he's lost a load of straight line speed.
This is Carl Wendlinger watching Ryan Sharp going past. Yep, very pleased to see that, but that Italian shake of the head, I'm going to finish second. Perhaps Andrea Bertolini spotted something earlier than we did even.
This car's got, I think, well, it looks like it's got a problem because it seemed to lose so much speed down the back straights that maybe it has some kind of misfire, but it suddenly lost 6 car lengths in one straight, which didn't look normal.
1:46 was his last lap time, and he was 2 seconds slower in the middle sector on that lap, so yes, it has given away something, hasn't it?
Yeah, Ryan Sharp, of course, they've got the fastest lap in that car at 1:44.6. Meanwhile, we'll have a word with Carl Wendlinger and get his reaction.
Carl, it certainly doesn't seem too much of a problem, you moving from the Aston Martin to the Celine out there today.
Sorry?
It certainly doesn't seem to have been a problem for you moving to the Celine, go from the Aston.
Oh, they are both very good car, very good GT cars. The last years, the Aston Martin we were very competitive, but also this year with the Celine. At the first race here in Silverstone, we have good performance and it runs very well.
And Ryan seems to be having a fantastic stint there. He's just taken the lead.
Yeah.
Ryan seems to have moved up to pole position for you. He's got a fantastic stint today.
Yes, very good. I mean, he catched up a lot to Michael, and now he passed him. And now, if possible, he would like to make for sure a gap to Michael, and maybe we can stay in the lead.
Great. Good luck. Thank you.
He was faking that. He could hear every word. He just wanted to get right in his ear, didn't he? And he had his earplugs in, as Ben noticed, so, and they do tend to block out your hearing, don't they?
GT2 battle continues apace on screen as it's Collard still trying to chase down Tony Vilander, and of course the Ferrari, who heads the class. Luis Perez Compact still in third, but dropping back now from this pair.
It's been interesting to see Ryan Sharp complete this lap because he's posted a really excellent first couple of sectors. So even though their teammates, himself and Wendlinger, will be keen to outperform one another, as long as they stay on the track, they'll be looking at their lap times and comparing who did the fastest stints. And Sharp, now he's in the lead, he's got a clear track, he'll be looking to see what he can push out of this car on fresh rubber.
Yeah, Ryan Sharp's sector 1, the fastest of anybody's in the entire race. So it'll be interesting to see how his lap time here compares with that of Carl Wendlinger. It's a 45.1 against a 44.6, which Carl managed to wring out of it in the first stint.
Nicky Cadet closing up there in the 51 car on Andrew Kikordi, just ahead of him in 56. Nicky Cadet we know from GT3 last year, and he seems to have taken to GT2 quite nicely, thank you. Yep. This is, where are we? We are talking about 5th in GT2 at the moment for Andrew Kikordi. Graham's saying 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right then, 4.
Into the pits comes the number 13 car again. Now that is out of sequence because they've already had a stop. Michel Orts, unless this is for their second stop, which it may well be. Yes, we're down to just 40 minutes. My goodness, that time has flown.
Yeah, so we've got to make, everybody has to make a second stop and driver change. One or two people have already accomplished that. Look, Renaud Coupens is back in the 40 car, and as you say, Michel Orts in there with 13. So we're just coming up to the point where the second round of pit stops will start. We might even see some people take it right down to the last possible moment. We've seen that before, and to a short stop, a little bit of a splash.
Be interesting to see too with that safety car period whether anybody does need to change tyres, as we've got a little battle going on screen here. This is the one that we were looking at earlier, Nicky Cadet and Andrew Kirkcaldy.
It's be interesting to watch unfold because Kirkcaldy won't be keen to let that place go. Obviously they're driving the same car, and he's got a lot of experience driving in this category, this Ferrari with his team. So to have a new boy on the circuit passing an unlike machine won't go down very well, so he'll be very keen to stay in front.
The big difference between the two, of course, is the 50 kilos of ballast that Andrew's carrying in his car, which will hamper him.
All the GT2 runners, regardless of make, electing to be on the Michelin tyres this year, so there's no difference there between them. And as you say, Kirkcaldy with 50 kilos, he's got a small female passenger beside him in weight terms. If you think about it in that way, he's got a passenger and Nicky Cadet hasn't.
Further back, that battle with Vilander and Collard, they've obviously eased back off each other, and Perez has dropped behind, so probably quite likely to see Collard mounting another challenge for the lead.
Yes, the gap now between Perez and Collard is 8 seconds, and it's exactly as you said, they're concentrated on their own lap times, and Vilander 152, Collard's last 153, and Perez 156. And 3 seconds a lap round Silverstone scrapping between yourselves.
Exactly. Well, I mean, they were holding each other up, and I think they've taken advantage of a bit of traffic there to just pull away from third place, and looking forward to another little battle when they get back to one another, because for sure Collard will be ready with the car ready as well, fast enough to take a lead.
Lights flashing, that's James Ruffier, the GT3 champion from last year, in the number 3 GT1 Corvette, coming up on this battle between the two Ferraris and wanting them to get out of the way so he can get through, but obviously they don't want to hand the advantage to the other one, and he splits them nicely. That'll suit Andrew Kirkcaldy very well indeed
for the moment. And ahead of James Ruffier in the GT1 category, there's a nice little battle bubbling up between the number 19 Corvette of Xavier Marson and Anthony Kumpen, still in Mike Hazelman's car, for third and fourth place, just a second and a quarter separating them last time through.
Don't normally see the Ferraris do that, do you? The big slides.
No, he looked like the GT1 really held him up at one point, and he had the power hard down as he lost a bit of downforce at the same time. But he's looking for another opportunity on Kirkcaldy.
Seconds.
Unfortunately, you've occurred some problems with the car, Miguel. Can you explain what's happened?
The wheel was not properly mounted, so started to lose, and I lost the wheel. So I lost the wheel, and the car just stopped.
Are you happy with the race up until that point?
I didn't make even a lap, so it's quite a disaster. My mate was really well on third, so it's quite disappointing.
Well, thank you for talking to us, Miguel.
Okay, thank you.
The race director summoning him, he was being dragged away but preferred to talk to Haley. You can't really blame him when you've done something and you've got to go and see the headmaster and there's a pretty girl asking you questions. You've got to put it off as long as possible. Now, where were we? We were looking to see if Emmanuel Collard is going to do anything about Tony Vilander. The gap was 1.3 seconds last time they came past the start-finish line. These two are still at it and still in the same order. That is the number 4 of Kumpen you were talking about earlier. In front of him is the Ford GT of Thomas Biaggi.
There's a couple of cars between him and Xavier Marson in the number 19 Luc Alphand car.
Yes, the Biaggi Ford GT is a couple of laps out of place here on just going. Now that's the car that was the number 95, Perez, was in contention earlier on, and it looks a lot slower now than it did earlier on.
Second pit stop for the leading AF Corsa, number 50. Tony Vilander brings the car to a halt and will hand back over, of course, to Jimmy Bruni.
Yes, I think he's just got out of the way before Emmanuel Cards came up to try and monster his way past. That could be quite a good call by the team, that one.
There is Anthony Kumpen sharing this year with Mike Hazemans, and that's what he's trying to do, to chase down Xavier Marsan in the Luc Alvan Aventure car. Bartel's still in second place, but falling away quite steadily from Ryan Sharp, who is turning laps steadily in the 145s.
8.2 seconds the gap between Ryan Sharp and Michael Bartels, and it seems that Ryan Sharp is able to pull away from the Maserati just as easily as Carl Vendinger was when Bertolini was at the wheel. And I've got to say, I'm surprised, because in previous years we hadn't seen Celine anywhere near the front, except at the end of last year when we had a bit of a strange race in Argentina, and that's quite a performance from Sharp, Vendinger and from K plus K, isn't it?
Yeah, sadly we've not seen a return to the track of the Nismo GT. I was just looking at the second stop for Bas Linders and Renault Kuppen's number 40 car. Thomas Biaggi still out in the 44 in the GT1 2010 style Ford, but the Nismo car, having come in, has not then left the pits with Darren Turner at the wheel. So these two on screen now are both on their already made their second stops.
So we're racing for position now with just over half an hour remaining. This is what it's all about. We heard that, is it Bertolini said this is going to be a race of two? No, it's Alex Muller, wasn't it? The race will develop in the second half. Yeah, and that's pretty much what we're seeing. And the 97 Porsche, they're just easing out of the way. Ranger now getting out of the way of the number 3 of James Ruffier, chasing after. Oh look, it's Mario Dominguez in number 18 in front of him, and then Kumpen up ahead of that. So that number 4 Corvette of Kumpen and Hazeman looking a little stronger now towards the end of the race than it was at the beginning.
Yeah, just trading times with Xavier Marsan in the 146s, as indeed is Mario Dominguez, who's done well in his first GT1 race over here.
Ryan Sharp again, another second. It's 9.2 seconds now between him and Bartels. And you've got to wonder at what point they will call either of those cars in for their final stop driver change. It seems that, Ryan Sharp and Carl Vendinger have always been very evenly matched, even in the wet when Carl Vendinger is exceptionally good in the past, and we're seeing that again. Ryan Sharp able to lap pretty much at the same pace as Carl Vendinger, although of course it was Vendinger who set the best lap in 144s, and it's currently running at 145s, isn't it?
Yep, Nicky Gaudet is still trying to find a way past Andrew Kokodi as we look at the second stop for Fred Makovici to bring the Aston Martin in from what was 18th place to hand back to factory driver Stefan Mucker.
Fuel, but we haven't seen a tyre change, have we? Nope. And the AF Corsa crew didn't have tyres out in the pit lane either, so I would bet that the number 1 car isn't going to go for a tyre change. What will the Celine crew have to do for Ryan Sharp and Carl Vendinger is really going to be the key to the outcome here, isn't it?
Yeah, well they've stretched the lead, at least Ryan Sharp has stretched the lead out again to just a whisker over 10 seconds during his stint.
So he's putting on about a second a lap. That's about a tyre change, isn't it? If he can go to pit lane with a tyre change in his pocket, maybe they can change tyres and still come out in the lead.
It's going to cost them more than 10 seconds to do that, and I'm not entirely sure they'll get the benefit of it. Remember, part of this second stint has been done under a safety car, so tyre wear will not have been such an issue. Still, this battle goes on between Nicky Cadet, moving up from the GT3 ranks last season, where he raced for Loris Kessel's team, and makes the move across the way of Corsa in with the big boys in GT2.
seen much of this car during the course of the weekend. Where are they at the moment? In 7th place, Jos Menton brings it in from, well, he's about 10 seconds behind James Ruffier in the SRT equivalent we saw earlier on, and Marcus Paltella now strapping in, and once again it's a pit lane free of tyres.
Yes, that's interesting, because on the start drivers list it was to be Jos Menton to do the start, so Marcus Paltella must have been who did that, so they've done a sneaky switch on us.
A bit of frustration on Cadet. You can just see him starting to wander around behind Cacaldi, and he's not quite getting close enough to try and outbrake him, and he's kind of hoping he can distract him into something. Looking a lot closer here, he might get a go at this at Abbey Chicane, or at least force Cacaldi to defend, but not quite.
Now Andrew's doing a good job here, given that he's got that extra weight penalty to keep the lighter car behind. As you said, Ben, otherwise both pretty much to the same spec.
Yeah, and obviously the other thing counting against Cacaldi is it's not just the slight lack of performance. Obviously the extra weight will degrade his tyres very slightly more than the car that's chasing him, and he's the one that's under the cosh here for any mistake he makes. Cadet will always have the opportunity to come back if he makes a tiny mistake.
Race leader Ryan Sharp, after 48 laps, nearly 11 seconds clear of Michael Bartels, who is in 2nd place. Are we near his scheduled pit stop? They owe us a stop. Carl Wendlinger is ready to do his 2nd and final stint. And he's going for the shoulder straps. This is the pit stop lap, so this is going to be the thing that makes the difference, isn't it? Into pit lane he comes. Slows right down to 60 kilometres an hour now, and into pit lane as the 50. He's given up his pursuit of Andrew Cacaldi and handed it over instead.
Yeah, Alvaro Barba Lopez was turning good times and did the qualifying in the car, so that race will be resumed, but then it will be Rob Bell, of course, to take over from Andrew Cacaldi as well in their corresponding stop. Here is Ryan Sharp. We're on board to see what it looks like from the inside of the car while Carl Wendlinger gets strapped in.
A great in-lap there from Sharp too. It was actually pretty quick. Really was one of the best in-laps of the GT1 class in the race so far.
They haven't needed a tyre change at all. So, and you can bet the Maserati went well. This is going to be interesting. The control tyre obviously a little bit sterner than last year's development tyres. I'm just looking at the GT2 times as Wendlinger rumbles out, and I think that Jimmy Bruni might be close enough to be well placed when Emmanuel Collard hands over to Richard Westbrook. We'll see in a minute, because we've only got 28 minutes remaining, and Richard Westbrook has to get back in the car again.
Yep, now how soon will it be before Michael Bartels is called in by his team? If they dare, of course.
Andrea Bertolini is ready, but Michael Bartels will tell them when he's coming in, won't he? Just
my
phone
toys.
Yes, I'll be in a minute. He's 3 seconds behind Carl Wendlinger on the clock. This is entirely artificial. But just looking to see, you always see the drivers as they come in searching for the shoulder straps, getting ready for the moment when they can unplug when they get into pit lane and the car comes to a complete stop, because obviously you don't unfasten your seatbelts until the car has stopped.
Andrew Cacaldi has made his 2nd stop now in response to that of the 51 car.
They were very close together on track. Let's see how that pans out. We're going to have to wait a lap for that, of course. I think Michael Bartels is going in, or is he just going to try and do some fast laps while the Carl Wendlinger is coming up to speed? 77 in the pit lane as well. Everybody's stopping now. Most people, I think, made 2 stops. There's only a handful now with only 1 pit stop against their name on the timing screen.
Anthony Kumpen brings in the number 4 car from what was 3rd place.
Michael Bartels 147 on that last lap, and trying to make his time on the in-lap. Bartels, Masson, Kumpen, Dominguez, Wendlinger is what it says on the timing screen after the pit stop.
Smoke out of the back there, under braking for Michael Bartels.
I've seen that so many times and said, look, there's something wrong there, but I think it's just a little bit of oil on the overrun.
Concentration on Bartels' face. These are not easy cars to drive.
They'll all be off. They're getting into their stints as he comes into the.
What we want to see now is Conninger. It's 32nd, out 40 kilometres a day. It's going to be saw or 10-14 is past the end of the pit lane exit, while Andrea Bertolini is driving out of it.
Fuel you need on board as well.
I think that was in the back there. There's a silver left behind Maserati might well, but Carl Vend.
Yes, it's away.
Top work by boys again, and conjured up the race leading, and a little bit faster. They've got 10 in the pit stop.
However, what you've got is Carl Wendlinger up to speed already in the number 14 flying lap. Andrea Bertler playing with this, and Havel with slow head. That's in. I'll get through as well.
I've seen him do it in 24 lead.
Sharp made that look incredibly easy. He just had to drive past on the straight, and so much so I did wonder if the Maserati had an engine problem. But if that's not the case, I don't think it is. Very interested to see how easy or hard Wendlinger finds it to get back in the lead.
Massive incentive, of course, for Carl Wendlinger and Ryan Sharp to win this race and become the first repeat winners of the RAC Tourist Trophy since it became a feature of the FIA GT Championship.
Long faces round at Maserati, very absorbed face there from Ryan Sharp. Just to let you know that Jimmy Bruni did indeed come out just in front of Richard Westbrook and has 10 seconds in hand over the Porsche as the GT2 battle continues. But you've got to say that Celine's got very aggressive body language on track, hasn't it?
Yeah, it looks especially dominant in this high-speed section here, Beckett's, Maggots, and onto the hangar straights, and this is where Sharp did it last time, and it just seems to have a really, really good grunt, and toes so well up behind the Maserati, you just see it flying up alongside it.
Just drives alongside, but is it going to happen? I don't think so.
Not this time.
Not quite far enough alongside there. Ryan Sharp had done a little more on the approach to Stowe than Carl Wendlinger was able on that attempt, but as they fly down the Vale and into Vale Corner just before Club, sticking as close as he can, any opportunity that's offered by Bertolini will be grabbed at, you can be sure.
Coming up on traffic as well, which could go either way for either driver. Wendlinger all hoping to box the Maserati in and get past, and of course Bertolini will be hoping that the Ferrari will trip up Carl Wendlinger. We'll see in a moment just how that brakes. Speaking of braking, I see the screen tells us that car number 9 has a possible fire in the right-hand wheel arch. You see that sometimes after pit stops, brake dust and a little bit of matted rubber bursts into flames. It's usually nothing serious and often blows itself out.
Yeah, that's the DKR car we were talking about earlier, where actually Tizios Menton at the wheel now, so it was just a slightly errant graphic and Marcus Baltala getting in.
Lead Maserati obviously pretty held up there with a Ferrari, and that's not helped him get away from Carl Wendlinger, and we've seen it several times before how quick he is on this back straight. They'll just line him up as best he can through Beckett's here, and it looks like he'll have another run at him down the back straight.
This is going to be the shape of the season, Richie.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of it. Bring on Adrian Oschersleben and see how they manage there. Well, Ryan Sharp, yes, he gave us the thumbs up when he knew we were watching, but before that he didn't look as confident as he might do, did he?
Wendlinger's last lap quicker than Bertolini's by a tenth, so he's getting there, edging up all the time.
And he's capable of doing 46s for Wendlinger, and that was when the tyres were at the end of his first stint, and still got good rubber from Sharp. He wasn't in the car that long. He's got at least a second in hand on this car he's chasing down.
And more traffic ahead to confuse the issue.
Of racing still ahead. Carl Wendlinger has time to do this. He could wait for them to tow up on the traffic and try and use that. He doesn't have to do it now, but obviously you want to get it done as quickly as you can, don't you?
Absolutely. It's he can pick his moments. To be fair, with that much grunt on the straight there, he can play it fairly safe because he's got a clear advantage. But if he does pick him off in traffic, all the better.
61, one of our final pit stops of the day. Darrell O'Young, the strangely named Chinese gentleman.
This is quite a mishmash, isn't he? Darrell O'Young, with a very Irish-sounding name, born in Vancouver but Chinese, and now Hong Kong resident. So, first Chinese to run in the FIA GT Championship.
Bertolini driving really well, despite I think a few cars in his way. He posted a 46.9 there, and he's driving his socks off to keep his car ahead and keep himself safe in the straight. He knows that if Wendlinger's sitting anywhere near his tail through this last corner onto the straight, that he's probably going to get gobbled up before Stowe.
He also knows that he's got to face Michael Bartels at the end of the race if he doesn't win.
This battle going on between the Corvettes, Mike Hazeman back in the number 4 car, and Guillaume Moreau in the 19 car, but Longin behind them in number 3. He's some distance away, and this is getting... no, it's not. I was going to say Andrea, but oh look, Wendlinger might see a chance here.
Yeah, he went the wrong way there. That was a mistake on Bertolini to take a line on the Ferrari.
Yeah, that's out of Stowe and down the Vale, where Carl Wendlinger just got the line right, and Bertolini got caught up, tripped over by the slower car. No second invitation needed, and Carl Wendlinger leapfrogs Bertolini into the lead of the race again.
They weren't happy about that round at Vanderarty, were they? So I'm sure they'll see smiles from Ryan Sharp. What's Bertolini going to do? As you said, Ben, he was quite quick, wasn't he, towards the end of the last lap and on this one.
Now here are the roles reversed. Again, it's slower traffic coming into play, but this time it's Wendlinger who's going to have to try and find the right way through and hope that Bertolini doesn't mug him.
Yeah, Bertolini's got some good
pace.
He's
got around the outside.
He's going to really try and hang on to him, and I suspect Bertolini will be pretty frustrated with what happened to him at Vale there. So if he can stick with Wendlinger and hope for a mistake, he might get lucky.
He's got 17 minutes to get lucky, and the blue flags are waving. I don't think anybody in this group needs telling that the leaders are coming through, and ahead is that number 9, the DKR Corvette, which had the suspected fire and obviously is working perfectly now, and picking their way through. But here was Wendlinger's moment. They went either side of the Ferrari, and Bertolini had to get out of it and let him go through.
Realising too late that he was on the wrong line. Hope to take the slingshot round the outside of the Ferrari. Just
Ryan Sharp's not very pleased.
Not the least bit excited about that.
Bit of air now behind the number 14 Celine. 55 laps complete, 16 minutes and 50 odd seconds still to go, and a little bit of headlight work from Wendlinger because that Corvette's not moving out of his way, is it?
No, and Jos Menton is experienced enough to know that he should be making way. He doesn't want to compromise his own line too much and get onto the slippery stuff on the outside of the track, but he does now move over and let the 14 car through. Carl Wendlinger now has that car to defend himself from further attack from Andrea Bertolini. That's the battle you were talking about, Mike Hazeman's, Richard, coming off onto the back of Guillaume Moreau in the Luc Alphonse car.
Yes, that's been going on more or less through the race, hasn't it, this Corvette battle. And the Luc Alphonse we've seen before in the championship, but a bit of an unknown quantity. They've done quite well elsewhere, so they should be capable of running at speed with this pack, and they obviously are. But Mike Hazeman now stuck behind the Ferrari. He's not going to be pleased about that, is he?
No, just getting slightly balked into bridge there by Alvaro Barber Lopez. But now safely through to come up through Priory and into Luffield.
Just half a second separates the first and second places as they went through just ahead of this little battle last time, and then we might see a bit more on the clock next time around, because Carl Wendlinger is settling into his groove now and has got a bit of air. And what's happening there, which it's 1.3 the timing says between Hazeman and Moreau, but yeah, Moreau won't care about 1.3 seconds because he'll be looking in his mirrors and you'll see yellow.
Yeah, having the better of the traffic there for the last lap, certainly Guillaume Moreau, and opening up that little gap. Adam Lachko remains in 5th position in the sister car to Carl Wendlinger, so K plus K will be very pleased with their day's work if things finish off like that.
And let's have a look just at the GT2 times. Jimmy Bruni still holding off Richard Westbrook, and the gap has come down. It was 10 seconds after the pit stops, it's now 7. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
That front wheel is locked.
Locked solid, and that gap will not be 10 seconds anymore, or 7 seconds. Mechanical problem for AF Corsa, and we haven't seen that since Nagaro over a year ago.
No, again, we didn't see the start of that, but there is
That's weird.
a wreath of smoke coming off the.
Was there contact
left front
in that corner, or did that just decide to drop off its axle? But a mechanical problem, certainly. End of the line. Game over for Bruni and Wielander, the defending champions, and can't really see what happened there at all. But
real shame. I mean, that looks like it's just completely seized. In fact, you can see it's on a slight angle, so whether it's slightly come off the hub and locked and seized up. But it's a shame because Bruni done a great job there, pulling well away from the Porsche, which may have damaged itself when it was tapping the back of the Ferrari early in the race. A suspension failure or something there. You can see the wheel, the front left wobbling.
Bottom bracket breakage or something. Yeah.
yes, Jimmy Bruni always does a great job, doesn't he?
Yes, bar none. But that has handed the GT2 race pretty much on a plate to Richard Westbrook and Manuel Collard in the Pro Speed Porsche. Matthias Russo second, and that'll then move Andrew Cocodi up to third place.
1.5 seconds the gap last time between Wendlinger and Bertolini. Carl Wendlinger is easing away from Andrea Bertolini, and you sort of think he's got this pretty much under control now.
Yeah, Andrew Cocodi, of course, although not yet changed on the timing screen, is now Rob Bell, having completed their second stop. Thomas Biaggi still out and having only done one stop in the 44 car.
I suppose they don't have to stop there, want to, because they're not going to get any points.
Not going to get any points anyway.
They can't really get into any trouble, so if they just split it in half and said you do the first hour and I'll do the second hour, and maybe that's how they've done it. But Wendlinger leads it from Bertolini, 1.5 seconds the gap. Just a glimpse of Andrea Bertolini's car in the background, and there is the number 50 car parked on the side of the road, really on the long walk back. Wendlinger about to complete this lap. He was 1:46 last time, and he was 2.6 seconds clear this time of Andrea Bertolini.
Yes, second lap coming out.
Which is what we saw before, with both drivers against both other drivers. So it seems to be in the car, doesn't it?
It does, which, as I say again, says a lot for the preparation of K+K, because Celine has not been a mark that's featured at the front of the GT1 field in recent times, other than at San Luis last year.
When we saw the very popular win for the season's underdogs for Anthony Kumpen and Bert Longin. So it doesn't look as though there is going to be a Maserati success story here, despite what we thought. And maybe you're right, Ben. He didn't look too happy there. Did you watch that? Andrea just took his hand off the wheel and had a little. It's almost as if he was complaining about the car. There was nobody in front of him, nothing around him, and it was one of those gestures.
It does look strange because this performance difference down the straights didn't look like it was there early in the race. Whether that's something you just didn't notice, but it does kind of seem that they've lost a bit of an edge, and there's no chance he's got of catching Wendlinger. Well, assuming there's no mistakes. Wendlinger looks very comfortable. Just watching his car as well, it looks very soft and smooth over the bumps. You just watch, you can see it gently rocking forward and back. It's in complete control. You see it following the undulations in the braking areas, the slow corners, the quick corners. It's a perfect package for today.
He's only got 10 minutes to worry about it. We have seen Carl Wendlinger make mistakes, and I seem to remember him just pirouetting just about here at Silverstone for no particular reason. But they are very few and far between. And 10 minutes, repeat win for the Tourist Trophy. We could see history.
Bertolini's taken 2/10 out of him in that previous lap, and this bit of traffic here may encourage him to keep pushing. It's only a 2.5 second gap, and anything can happen.
GT2 leader, that is Richard Westbrook in the Pro Speed car. Manuel Collard having done a fine middle stint. trying to see what's the gap there. Westbrook back to Matthias Russo, he's now second, 10-11 seconds. So it's all pretty much under control here for Westbrook and Collard. It's all pretty much under control for Wendlinger and Ryan Sharp. GT2 leader Richard Westbrook, Manuel Collard on the pit wall, 11-second gap, 9.5 minutes to go. Can you relax? Are you going to relax?
No way. I mean, it's just, you know, anything can happen, but these last laps, and you don't relax till you finish the race. So I'd be interested to see what sort of times Wendlinger starts posting here.
Well, Carl Wendlinger has got 2.5 seconds over Andrea Bertolini, who was getting quite racy the previous lap when they got into traffic. As you say, Benny may well have thought that he had an opportunity.
You should. I mean, you can never ever give up with these, particularly with the traffic opportunities. And suddenly that 2.5 second gap, it might feel comfortable for Wendlinger, but it can be gone in an instant if you catch a Porsche or Ferrari in a wrong place. So these last laps are pretty critical.
Well, with 8.5 minutes on the clock and the laps running at just under 2 minutes, you can work it out for yourself, probably better than I can. Because mathematics, I just haven't got enough fingers to do sums like that. Carl Wendlinger, 2.1 seconds. He's not in any sense clear at the front of this race, as you say. And we're looking at Matthias Russo, who's second in GT2, which underlines what you were saying, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. PCOM seem to have come of age in the back end of last season and the start of this. They've really got their act together, and this is the result. Would have been a podium even without the demise of the AF Corsa car.
Well, of course, the demise of the AF Corsa car, we know, has put Richard Westbrook up into first place and Matthias Russo here up into second. But of course, it's also lifted the car behind onto the podium, and the car behind is
CRS.
Yes, indeed. Andrew Capaldi and Rob Bell are going to get a podium out of this. They had a good outing here last year, and they're going to have another one this year as well. It's maybe not what they were hoping for, because Chris Niarchos has made no bones about it. He wants a championship.
Sure, and Andrew Capaldi made no bones about wanting a fourth consecutive pole position here, but that wasn't to be either.
So just looking at the Ford GT, as you said, Graham, the Nismo GTR has vanished from our screens, but it does seem as if this pair have shared the driving in this car more or less equally.
No, they've had 2 stops now, so I think that is Thomas Much
back in the
on
car.
board the car, although the time scoring is not yet caught up with that any more than it's put Rob Bell back into the CRS car. So with a bit of luck, we can have a word now with Thomas Biaggi with Haley.
Thomas, there's certainly been a great buzz surrounding the 2010 cars, but how did it feel actually getting the Ford GT out there racing?
Yeah, I'm very pleased to be here with the Ford, and I have to say many thanks to Martin Bartek and the Matek team. I'm also very pleased because I drove the car here for the very first time, and now after I had a very good stint, very consistent, we are going to score 1 point, which is very good for a brand new car with the 2010 rules and specification. We are missing a lot of speed, but apart that, the chassis and the car under braking is very, very good.
Thank you, Thomas.
Why has he still got his hat on?
You'd wonder, wouldn't you?
Thomas Biaggi, always entertaining, but obviously very pleased with the way things have gone for the Ford GT, and the timing and scoring has caught up and put Thomas Much in the seat.
Lots of work still to be done on these new cars, of course, particularly on that car where the straight line speed of this new GT1 car is actually less than that of the GT3 equivalent, simply because it's got a much bigger frontal area. They haven't yet worked out how the aero package is going to finish up, so this is very much a first attempt.
And you were noticing something there.
It's just watching the lead cars, and it's extremely close on times, and Bertolini's taken another 2/10 out of Wendlinger, so Wendlinger's either toying with him for the last few laps, or he's not able to pull away. So when it closes to less than 2 seconds, it only takes one little mishap with the traffic, and we could get a lead challenge, which would be great fun to watch.
Well, I'm sure Carl Wendlinger and Ryan Sharp won't think so, and you'd think with 5 minutes remaining and 2 seconds in your pocket only, you would want to be putting in some faster laps, but of course these tyres have been double stinted. Even though there was a safety car, we think the Celine might be a little bit harder on its tyres than the Maserati, so Wendlinger might just be nursing it home.
Absolutely, and just punched out an extra half a second in that last sector, having lost a few tenths here and there, so it's pretty close and stable at 2 second gap between first and second place.
So the 56 car here, Andrew Kirkcaldy and Rob Bell coming home for a podium place, and I'm not going to jinx them by saying any more about it this late in the race.
We're getting a glimpse of the bright yellow and black crash helmet of Robert Bell through the window there to identify the driver for us, and they'll be pleased with that. It's been a difficult weekend coming to grips with a car that suddenly got almost twice as much additional weight on board as they were used to last year. Here's the Luc Alphon car yet again, still in third place. Guillaume Moreau having pulled out a couple of seconds over Mike Hazeman's in the last 5 laps to create a bit of a breathing space for himself and potentially a first podium spot, third place podium spot for them in their first attempt this season. Luc Alphon having come into the series occasionally in the past, and certainly for the Spa 24 Hours.
And as you say, there is air now, got a lot of it back to Mike Hazeman, who I think may well have decided with just 3.5 minutes on the clock that 4th place is going to have to do this weekend.
It's still very much on down in the GT2 ranks, however, between the 61 car that we saw there, Daryl O'Young taking over the second Pro Speed Porsche, and the second AF Corsa, the remaining AF Corsa car of Alvaro Lopez Barber. There they are on screen, and Lopez Barber looks to be towing right up onto the back of Daryl O'Young now, and it'll be another honours battle between Ferrari and Porsche for 5th place.
We've had battles all the way through the field now, and they're going to get one more lap out of this, aren't they? I think. Depends where the leaders are. What will happen is when the clock says 0, the checkered flag will be brought from its becket and will be unfurled in front of the leader the next time he passes the start-finish line. So it's 2 hours and the rest of whatever lap Carl Wendlinger is on at the end of 2 hours.
Here is that battle, and again just getting a little bit closer. The Spaniard towing up onto the back of the Porsche, wanting to make that place his with just a shade over 2 minutes remaining. They'll get this lap and one more.
And Carl Wendlinger now 3 and a bit seconds, has started to pull away from Bertolini again, looking fairly comfortable at the head of the field.
The car ahead of these two is the 78 BMS Scuderia Italia car of Kenneth Heyer, not in the position on the road. So as these two come up behind, they're putting a lap on Kenneth Heyer's car, so he needs to be getting out of the way to allow this race to develop properly down the Hangar Straight.
This jump will be pushed there really, and Porsche's gone through. It's a good clean move at Stowe.
Yeah, and Barber able to follow through, so the two contenders still there. In fact, having a good look with the headlights blazing in the rear mirrors of the Porsche. Alvaro Barber Lopez looking to make good this pass as he's got one more attempt round here at Club. Up into Abbey has been a favourite passing place in all categories this weekend.
And it's always that kind of thing, the last laps now, and the sensible head sometimes gets thrown out the window by some drivers, and he may just go for the glory of the extra position. So could get a bit of excitement.
Good to hear a race driver confirm that there is such a thing as a sensible head, because we've not often had much evidence on it.
But they are indeed on their last lap, and so is Carl Wendlinger, and he's 3.5 seconds clear of Andrea Bertolini. Moreau still holding on in 3rd place, so situation as it was at the head of the field, and here is your race leader on his final lap. He will get a 0 on the countdown timer before he gets to the finish line, which means that when he gets there he will be shown the checkered flag. So it's broken just nicely for Carl Wendlinger at is that 64 laps or 54 laps? I can't read the screen from her. 64, and he has got the fastest race lap as well, of course, and they started the race from pole position. So quite frankly, it couldn't have gone any better, and it'll be the first time that we've had a repeat win of the Tourist Trophy in the FIA GT Championship. A checkered flag for Carl Vendinger, and you know that he doesn't give much away in terms of emotion ever, but he's very happy about that. You see a lot more on the face of Ryan Sharp, don't you?
A lot of animation in that pit.
That's a great result. I think both Sharp and Vendinger drove fantastic races, and Vendinger, despite what we were saying, what might happen at the end, he put out a 5.5 second gap in those last laps, so he never lost composure and took his chances in the traffic and drove a great race.
And how encouraged will that pairing be to see that as their first result of the season, having moved from the highly successful Jet Alliance team and the highly successful TBR 9S into rather less well-known waters. A Czech entrant.
Indeed.
His first time winning in the GT Championship.
Yeah, that's not bad at all for K+K. They will be delighted. I'm sure there will be champagne there. This is how Vendinger and Sharp started last year, of course, and for the second season in succession they went to the final round, or to the last round, European round, as someone who could have challenged for the title. So expect them to be doing that as this season progresses. All celebration time though for the race winners. Yeah, Ryan Sharp a lot more animated, isn't he? Carl Vendinger always is. Yes, everything's fine.
Yep, there is the Celine.
Well, that has been a very impressive 2 hours, hasn't it, from that car and those two drivers, and from that whole team. We said at the beginning of the race that we didn't know what to expect, we didn't know where the form book was going to put things, and we've got a fairly good idea now, haven't we?
Yep, on that final lap, just to satisfy my curiosity, glancing down the timing screen, Alvaro Barba Lopez did make his way past Darilo Young and up into 5th place in class. So GT2 goes to Richard Westbrook and Emmanuel Collard, with Matthias Russo and Luis Perez Companc in 2nd, Andrew Cody and Rob Bell 3rd for CRS Racing.
What an afternoon. What do you make of that then?
I think it's great start, and I mean, it's interesting to see how close that was at the front for the, well, relatively, with the Maserati and the Celine. I think we'll see a lot more, especially as the season goes on and the teams get more time to work on the cars, and certainly from the Nissan, when that starts to come on song as well, regardless of the development series at the moment. But I think all these cars will be a lot closer as the season goes forward.
Well, Andrea Bertolini and Michael Bartels never discount the importance of having points. Remember, their season started very badly last year, and it didn't come alive until they got to Spa, when it got a kick-start, and they really kicked everyone else into touch at Spa, cleaned up on the big points haul, and went on to clean up on the title.
And a perfect group on the podium for Stefan Rattel, of course, because variety being the spice of life, we've got Celine, Maserati and Corvette all represented on the podium.
And of course it is Porsche and Ferrari, as you'd expect in GT2. And looking, Stefan Mucker is a reasonable result there as well for Aston Martin on its first outing. Carl Vendinger, race winner for the second time here at Silverstone. He gets his name on the Royal Automobile Club's Tourist Trophy with Ryan Sharp for the second year in succession. That's a little bit of history for us, and something for the team to celebrate. They will all be happy about that. And Andrea Bertolini, ever the gentleman, going over to offer his congratulations as well.
And have a manly hug, which has to be done.
Very manly. Third place for this team. They'll count that as pretty close to a win, won't they?
Yeah, Luc Alphon and his team will be very pleased with that. It's a good result, first time out, and a new pairing, of course. Guillaume Moreau, first time in the FIA GT Championship, and a good pairing, I think, for the season. That one was Xavier Marson, who showed so well alongside Christophe Bouchou.
Let's see if we can catch up with Carl Vendinger in the holding area now.
Congratulations on continuing your success after last year, Carl. How was it?
Very good. We were very fast all through the race, but then with the pace car we lost position and a little bit of distance. But Ryan did a great middle stint again. He passed Michael Bartels and was in the lead, but then after the second pit stop I was behind Andrea. Andrea was pushing very hard, and I was a bit lucky that he was a bit blocked from a slow car and I could pass him. But perfect weekend for us.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Modest as ever, but the truth was that once he had got past, he drove away.
Yeah, and as he said, it's a perfect weekend for us. If you wrote the script for a perfect weekend's racing, that'd just about be it, wouldn't it? Everything you want, pole position, nice win, fast in every stint, and not too hard on the tyres either.
First time in the new car, first time with the new team, first repeat of winners of the RAC Tourist Trophy. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that you'd add.
Ben, anything missing from that list?
No, I mean, nice start. I'd imagine they'd have liked to stay in the lead the entire time, but the nice thing was we got to see them work for their race win on every occasion on the pit stops, so they deserved their result in every way.
Well, they'll be on the podium shortly to celebrate that one. There's a big crowd been here this afternoon. Silverstone's such an enormous circuit that you can put 15, 20,000 people in here and it looks as if there's no one here. And the only giveaway is when you try and go somewhere, cross a bridge or go through a gate, you have to join the queue. There have been a lot of people here on what has turned out to be a sunny bank holiday Sunday afternoon. And you can't ask for much more than that, motorsport, can you? Perfect result, good racing, and a little bit of sunshine. Man of the match, Graham?
Good question.
Yes.
Actually, yeah,
I stumped him.
Yeah,
Why don't you think about that and we'll ask Ben?
I thought it was pretty straight that one. I'd give it to Wendlinger, and could see that in his eyes from the minute he was interviewed pre-race when you dissed him for the win. But I could see him, he had 1,000-yard stare, and he was answering his questions, but looking at the first corner, and he was thinking about one thing, which is getting there first. It wasn't the best start from pole, but he's brought it home in every way and really held it together.
Well, yep. Lots of good performances, though. I mean, Ryan Sharp did brilliantly as well.
Yeah, that was what caused me to hold my breath and just wait for a moment, because Ryan Sharp's drive in the centre stint there for me was every bit as impressive as what Carl did, although Carl had more laps to cover, of course.
Just looking down the field and wondering if there's a drive in because I see Westbrook and Collard in GT2. That was a drive for both of them.
Good pressured driving from Richard Westbrook, never ever letting up on the old Corsa.
I was really hoping to see that battle play out all the way out with Westbrook and the Ferrari, but after that, a little bit of contact, but still a clean win there in the end.
Yes, that's a leaderboard without AF Corsa at the top of GT2, and we haven't seen one of those for a very long time.
Adds a little spice to the next round there, doesn't it?
And we haven't seen a chink in their armour for a long time either. And last time I think was Nagaro, wasn't it?
Yes.
But all the way down the field there have been some good drives. We've had some rather good battles to enjoy.
In fact, because Picon won in Argentina, didn't they?
Picon who? Same garage, same team, same uniforms. No
longer under the advanced engineering banner, however.
Yes, fair enough. But last time Picon won, I seem to remember Jimmy Bruni slowing down unaccountably on the last few laps.
That would have happened.
Lost 9 seconds in a lap for some reason.
No,
couldn't work that one out. So I'm pretty sure that we haven't seen.
Okay.
We haven't seen them falter for the last 2 seasons, have we?
No, they really have been class act, as have Pro Speed, of course. And with Westbrook and Collard, you've got a cracking pairing. But as you have here with Carl Wendlinger and Ryan Sharp, who've made the transition from Aston Martin to the Celine with apparently barely a wobble.
Yes, indeed. There have been no mistakes at all at any time. As I said, they have worked hard. They were out in the pit lane rehearsing and practicing everything as often as they could be. And all that hard work has paid off